Welcome to the InTalksicated Podcast, a weekly comedy talk show that dives into the personal lives of comedians, experts, and creators. I'm your host, Sarah McClellan, a very amateur stand-up comedian and self-proclaimed sad girl. It's the comedy podcast with a lot of heart. Feel hard and talk hard. This is the InTalksicated Podcast. Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Welcome back to the InTalksicated Podcast. Here with producer Sarah.
Hello, everyone.
Hello. How are ya?
How are you?
Well, I asked you first.
I asked you first.
Oh my
I'm
gosh.
good.
You're good. We are doing this remotely.
I'm at my mom's house.
Your mom's really nice house.
My mom's super nice house with my fam jam, my sister, my mom, obviously, because she lives here.
Fun times.
Yeah.
So it's starting just right off the top. Some super sad news in the world of comedy. There's no real good transition into this. There's no real smooth way for me to transition into this subject, but we did lose Norm MacDonald, who is a Canadian comedy legend. He is truly every status I see is this guy was my comedy hero. He was my inspiration. Like this guy had such an impact on comedy. Norm MacDonald passed away. He had cancer that he kept private for, I think it was 9 years. Is that what he said?
Yeah,
8 or 9 years.
Wild.
An insane amount of time to be suffering in silence and just so heartbreaking. And it just fucking sucks. There's nothing really else to say about it. For me personally, I knew Norm's classic bits. I loved watching him on talk shows. That's kind of where I really fell in love with Norm MacDonald, was watching him on Conan. And I heard somewhere a perfect way to say it is he is your favorite comedian's favorite comedian. Yeah, when I heard that, I was that really resonates with me, because while I might not be 100% familiar with all of his material, I very much so respect him and stuff like that, but I'm no expert in all of his material, but I do know a lot of comedians that he was their favorite comic. Yeah. So it just shows his impact, and it's just very sad. We're all very sad about it, and
it's a big loss, that's for sure.
It's such a bummer. And I do want to harken back to an episode with Travis where we talked about Vaughn when our friend Andrew died, and I mentioned how I pictured the afterlife like a comedy green room.
A big ass leather couch.
Yeah, you're just entering the green room and you're seeing all the other comics before you that passed away. And so I kind of think about that. I kind of am just he's up there with more of the greats and more people to come, sadly.
Yeah.
But that's just kind of a nice
that's actually a warming thought, and
it's comforting, right?
Yeah.
Because comics are bonded by comedy. And
yeah,
it's just a weird thing. No matter what kind of comedian you are, this weird art bonds us all. And it was very obvious to me that Norm was just truly in love with comedy. And so he's in that green room now. He's just, waiting for us sad fuckers who have to follow him. Martin Edwards had a great caption on his post, which was, "I feel sorry for whoever's death has to follow this one." And I just really like that, because it's kind of like when you're on a comedy show, right? And the best comedian you're following. And now that Norm is gone, we're all following him. So it's just an interesting thing. But rest in peace to Norm MacDonald. And I gotta say, we'll get to our guest soon, but Norm was a huge inspiration for this week's guest, actually. So it all ties in together. But before we get to that, you guys, we are going to play a voicemail. We did get a voicemail this week, and we have a voicemail from an amazing person. I hopefully future guest very soon.
Woo!
Miss Jade Bennett, friend of
Woohoo!
yours, Sarah.
She is a friend of mine, a very talented and lovely human friend of mine.
Such a lovely human. So we are going to play that voicemail right now.
Hey Sarah, it's Jade Bennett. I've been wanting to leave you a voicemail for a while, but I haven't because I have anxiety. Big fan of the podcast. I love you and Sarah so much. Sarah squared. My question for you is, do you believe you can be friends with an ex? I recently tried and it was just annoying lesbian drama that I want no part of, but I would love to hear your perspective on that. Okay, thanks. Bye.
So, Jade, first of all, God bless Jade, saying she has anxiety. This woman performs on stage constantly and doesn't even look like she's at all nervous. So I just find that so fascinating that like we're all just so anxious and like it's and you wouldn't know.
On stage.
Right? Isn't that wild? So, Jade's question, can you be friends with an ex? So I think that this is like not a cool, straight, black and white answer, but I do think that it does depend on the situation. I mean, it depends on a number of factors, but like my main thing is that you really have to know yourself really well to know essentially your attachment style and how that works and whether or not you can maintain a friendship and not have lingering feelings. And I also think that it is possibly friends with an ex, but I do think in order to get over someone completely, you gotta take space.
Space is a huge thing.
Some no contact for a bit, you know, like even though you might want to talk to them, I just think even if you can do a week, the longer the better.
I think a week's too short.
I think so too, but
at least a month.
But I think a lot of people are just very codependent on each other, and
that's true.
Even a week would probably feel like a month to some people.
Yeah.
So I think it does depend. I think like I know for a fact that like the only way I could do it is if there was significant space involved. And even then, I do think when you're friends with an ex, there's gonna still be a little something there, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Whether that's attraction or like comfort, like there's still gonna be a really small something else there that's gonna make it not fully platonic, I think.
Yeah, especially because you had a relationship with that person for so long, and it's really hard to just like jump right back into being friends.
Yes. You made a good point though when we discussed this. You said that if you're friends first and then you date, that might make it easier.
It all depends on the situation, right? Like it depends on how the relationship ended, like depending on how messy it was, if you guys are friends first or if you just jump right into dating. It's a lot easier to be friends with somebody when you know how to be friends with that person.
That's
but
right.
if you never had that friendship to begin with, it's pretty much impossible to be friends with that person. You know what I mean?
Yes, I would totally agree. And it really just is about knowing like being aware of like how you're attached to that person and or how that person might be attached to you. Maybe you're the person in the dynamic that doesn't care anymore, but that person might.
Yeah.
So you being friends with them is only preventing them from getting over you.
I also think it depends on how long you've dated the person as well, because there could be situations where you're friends with somebody and then you date them for like 9 years or something like that.
Yeah.
It's hard to go back to being friends after dating for that long as well, because back to what we were saying before, where when you date somebody for so long, it's hard to just be friends. There's always going to be that
little something there. Little something there. And I would also say, and like this is like very general advice, but like trust your gut in the situation and go, is this really a friendship? Is this codependence? Is this falling back into old
Yeah.
habits? Does this friendship make me actually feel good and not stressed? Because if you're stressed, and like what Jade said, oh, I need to find her exact words because I think it's great. What did she say? Just one second. Annoying lesbian drama. Jade, first of
Annoying
all,
lesbian drama.
Jade, I think if you make an album, that should probably be the title of your album.
Annoying lesbian drama by Jade Bennett.
Yes. Oh, and we gotta say shout out to Jade, because Jade had the first song on the first episode back with Serena. The featured song, Damned, was by Jade.
Damn.
She will hopefully be a guest on the show soon. So big shout out to Jade, and thank you for sending in that question, because that was a really good one.
I was gonna say something about like owning stuff together.
Oh yeah.
So it makes it hard to like separate from the person when you own stuff together. Like if you own like a house, if you own animals, they're almost like an excuse to go back to that person.
That's
Does that make
true.
sense?
Oh, yeah, I see what you mean. So, like, if you share a house or if you share a dog, like, you'll have to, there's no way you can fully avoid the person.
Or like, exactly, especially like if you have kids with them.
Kids,
like,
that's even worse.
You're gonna always have to kind of be in each other's lives. So you kind of have to figure out how to be friends in that type of situation, or at least like tolerate each other. But I think that if you don't have any attachment.
No, I see what you mean. And I mean, like,
do I mean that?
I do. But I do also think the word friends and friendship means something different to everybody. A lot of people see being friends with somebody as always hanging out and talking. And I do think that there's a sweet spot between friends and strangers, which is like you're on good terms and you can be civil and talk when you have to, but you're not necessarily sharing secrets with this person or hanging out all the time, because that's where things get messy.
That's very true. Very, very true.
So find that sweet spot.
Figure out exactly what your situation is and if it's bringing you joy. Because if it's not bringing you joy, why do it?
Why do it? That's a ding on that question. Great question.
Okay.
You guys, these are the types of questions we want for the intro. So send them in. We want more. Leave us a voicemail for the next one. You can also DM the podcast or myself personally if you're following me on social media, or Sarah as well. You can also email in questions, rants, stories to intoxicatedpodcast@gmail.com. But here we go, guys. We're going to get to this week's guest. What a treat, what a treat, what a pleasure to talk to this amazing human being. This week's guest is the amazing comedian, incredibly talented, Clifton Cremo. And he was just a joy to chat with. Sarah, you've never met Clifton, but you listened to the episode.
He's so nice and so intelligent. My highlights from this episode, if I can say them in the intro, how much he loves Matt Baker. That romance is just like, it really, really warms my heart. Like, I love it so much.
He wouldn't shut up about him. He couldn't shut up.
Yeah, exactly. I expected it to be maybe like a 2-minute thing.
Yeah.
But no.
Yeah.
And it was amazing. Another thing I loved is how passionate he is about Nickelback.
Yes, because
I truly think that some of the best people love Nickelback.
Well, this is it. And that's a little tease for the episode, because that may or may not have to do with Clifton's unpopular opinion.
May or may not, who knows?
But we talked about so many great things in this one. I mean, we talked a lot about just like doing comedy and like just the process of like developing material and like confidence and how to do this crazy thing. We also like dived into like, ooh, what will we do when the world ends? And we did talk about like how we coped during the pandemic. Yeah, this was a great episode. I really, really enjoyed it. And like what I love most about Clifton is the fact that he is somebody who is like what I would call a hustler, a self-starter. He does create his own opportunities, but he still enjoys life. And that is really, honestly, like, this sounds cheesy to say, but like the point that I want to reach in comedy. I want to have that balance and still have other things I do outside of comedy. And Clifton really does inspire me to do those things. So
you can hear his voice, like just how happy he seems to be with everything too, which is such a breath of fresh air.
Yes, he is incredibly talented in comedy for the short amount of time that he's been doing this. And he's a comic to watch, everybody. So you have to follow Clifton and keep an eye on what he is doing. Also, just another plug for another podcast I work on, Mullinger Meets Canadians. He is also the guest on that podcast this week too. So if you want, a little less shit show of a conversation, you can hear Clifton on James's podcast as well, James Mullinger. So yeah, so big thank you to Clifton for coming on. Do make sure to subscribe to Intoxicated wherever you listen. Leave us a rating or review on Apple Podcasts. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. And honestly, guys, send in your voicemails and questions. And that's it. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode with the amazing Clifton Cremo. This. Are we ready to go? Should we start?
Let's start.
I always have to tell people we're starting because sometimes I'll record conversation before we're officially open the episode, and then comics are like, "Are we recording? I didn't know." And I kind of feel like I'm podcast raping them. In a weird way. I'm doing it without consent. I'm we are officially recording. Now, everything you say might get you canceled from this point on, so beware.
Yeah. It's good that we don't have all that stuff of me saying the N-word just 5 minutes ago.
Yes, that was off, Mike. We don't have to worry about that. Oh my gosh, everyone. I am so excited to be here with someone who I adore so much. And I'm so glad that we were able to make this happen. Today's guest is an amazing comedian, and he is doing such great work all across the Maritimes. Everybody, please welcome to the podcast, Clifton Cremo. Wow. Clifton, welcome, buddy. Thanks for doing this.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Oh my gosh. I've been wanting to have you for so long, but it is tricky when you don't live in Halifax. So
yeah, scheduling stuff can be awful. And that goes not just for this, but I mean kind of especially this too, but doing shows and stuff like that. It's I have work Monday to Friday, usually not in the summertime. I work for a school, so it's great that way. Mm-hmm. But usually it's Monday to Friday, so if someone's hey, you should come out for Beerley's on Wednesday, it's then I'd have to drive back or take a day off Thursday kind of thing. And it's just a lot.
It is a lot to manage, and it's a crazy lifestyle, especially when you are working full time. And this is why I love talking to people who have all these things that they manage, because I always am just how do you do it? How do you stay sane? How do you do all these things and then still make time for to actually just be a human and live life? And what I love about you is based on what I've seen of you, you seem to still do really fun stuff outside of comedy. Obviously you're this guy's a fucking hustler. You're always on shows, doing shows. I'm always seeing shows come up with you on them, which is so great to see. But I also see you out in the woods and jumping into freezing cold water. And I just admire that so much, because I think that that's so important to have that separate thing that you can experience. That's, I think, especially important in comedy, because you need stuff to write jokes about.
Well, I mean, that's my social media presence, I guess. So you're seeing what I'm selecting you to see, and people have ranted about that. People are always oh yeah, people who aren't who they are on social media, and it's of course not. Why would I upload to Facebook videos of just me naked on the couch watching Netflix?
You're not wrong, but this is what I find fascinating, because until you sit down with somebody and talk, I would never know that you'd be naked on the couch.
Really?
I would never know that about you, because I don't know you on this level yet. You and I had a good chat. We drove up to Timagush together for an out of town show. That was really fun.
Yeah.
And so you do a lot of shows across the Maritimes. What made you? I feel I'm just getting right into it, because I just want to ask you all the things.
Ask me all the things.
But what made you want to start booking these shows. I guess we should put it in context. You are from Eskasoni?
Eskasoni, yeah.
I said it right! Woo! Fuck yeah. Which is in Cape Breton.
Yep.
And can you just describe to people what that community is like? Is it big, small?
Okay. Here's a little rant, I guess. Eskasoni is the largest First Nations community this east of Montreal. Largest Mi'kmaq community. A lot of people will say it's the biggest Mi'kmaq community east of Montreal, but there are no Mi'kmaq communities west of Montreal, so it doesn't make sense, right?
Okay.
But we are the largest First Nation this side of Montreal. Population 5,000, maybe. Okay. Pretty big reserve. A lot of people there. A lot of support. Really close knit place. You kind of know everyone.
Love that.
Yeah, there's 5 reserves in Cape Breton, 13 overall in Nova Scotia, and we're the biggest one. There's also Mi'kmaq reserves in New Brunswick, obviously, and in PEI.
Mm-hmm.
So
all around.
All over Newfoundland.
Have you been there your whole life?
In Eskasoni, yeah, pretty much. I mean, I moved here for school for a bit. My dad lived in Halifax when I was a kid, so I'd spend some time in Halifax. But like, home has always been Eskasoni. Yeah.
And like, did you like growing up there?
Honestly, no.
I love that. Awesome.
I feel like that's a small town thing for everybody who's from a small town, where it's like everyone's like, oh, I need to get the hell out of this place. I need to get the fuck out of here, right? I don't want to be here. But then when you grow up, you're like, that was home. And that, like, when you get to the age like where you're thinking about raising a family or whatever, it's like there's no better place that I would want to do it. Like, you know.
You always come back to where you came from.
Yeah.
In a weird, I actually totally agree, because I'm from Eskasoni, which is also like, it's a small town.
It's a university.
It's also a university town. So it's like, I think most of the population there is there during the school year, and then summers are pretty dead. In Eskasoni, would love to do a fucking comedy show in Eskasoni. We should chat, because I would love to have you come. And be on that show.
I reached out to Piper's Pub in Eskasoni.
Yes. Thank you. Piper's Pub would be perfect.
Yeah. I reached out to them. They haven't got back to me. I left a message with my name and blah 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 with the bartender, and he was like, yeah, I'll have the owner get back to you. Still haven't heard back, which sucks. But I was thinking about you, because I know you're from Eskasoni, so I was like, I put you on the lineup, and it'd be great.
Clifton, I would love to do that. I would love to go tell cum jokes to people I went to high school with. You have no idea. That's the pinnacle of success for me.
That's what I do.
My only thing is like, I fucking do that in a heartbeat, because I too have been craving that coming home, go back to where you came from, like I'm 34, so I'm in that stage of like, oh, I appreciate that little chill small town a lot more now, because now I'm like, I go out in Halifax and I'm like, these kids are so loud with their music. like it's so fast paced here, and it is really a great town. It would be fucking great for comedy, because you have those you could advertise it to like ex students. Like, I mean, Piper's gets that. I mean, they would get a mix of people for sure. They would get any age
They get their old people
demographic.
crowd that show up for like fiddle shows.
Yes!
Especially if they knew my last name, because my grandfather was Lee Cremo, or a famous fiddler.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah, so
they'd
probably think it's going to be a fiddle show if they saw my name on the bill, and then...
But hey,
they'd be
why
so
don't we get a
disappointed.
fiddler to come and do some fiddles in between comics?
That could work. Like, we did a show in Tatamagouche a couple weeks ago, or... At the beginning of July, This Is Not a Canada Day concert was the theme, and it was celebrating Indigenous artists. I hosted it. Morgan Toney was like the headliner, kind of. He fiddled. Jurl was also on the show. He's a great rapper. And yeah, like I was kind of skeptical about the idea of like a variety, kind of like, a fiddle, a rapper, and a comic.
Yeah.
Like how is this going to work? But the crowd was really great. Everyone was supportive. It was fantastic show.
I truly think variety show format is such a good format, because I think the people who go to variety shows appreciate entertainment in general. Obviously, if they're going to see all these mediums, they are there to see those mediums. They're not there to get drunk and chat. Mm-hmm. Like a lot of people who go to comedy shows are, So you're getting people who have never seen comedy, maybe. now you're walking away with new comedy fans as long as you do good, don't bomb. And vice versa. So you're kind of mixing the mediums. I fucking love it. We've done a couple drag burlesque stand-up shows here in Halifax. Most fun I've ever had on stage was and I have a theory about this because I do secretly think deep down, like, I'm a very either a flamboyant gay guy or a kind of a drag queen light, like I wear a lot of makeup. I love glamming up. I love dressing up. So like I went out there and I was like, not only am I going to like just do my material as best as I can do, but I'm going to be fucking sassy and I'm going to be performative because the people in that crowd like drag and burlesque. So they're there to see a performance.
They're flamboyant.
And for me, sometimes I feel like my comedy is too performative for like open mics or sometimes even booked shows. Like sometimes I have to tone down like my performance, like, and just kind of be more chill and do the jokes that way. But this time I ramped it right up and I had so much fucking fun. It was one of the first shows back from the lockdown. So I was feeling so rusty. I think I only had 2 mics to kind of practice before that. And most fun I've ever had. But it was because it was a match. I have this theory now about comedy shows where it's kind of like Tinder in a weird way. So sometimes the comic sucks. Sometimes people just don't do good. Okay? Sometimes the crowd fucking sucks. Sometimes it's just not a match. So sometimes the crowd just doesn't connect with the comic. The comic still performatively did good, but they just don't connect, so it's not a match. And sometimes it is a match. So I kind of see shows like that sometimes. Whenever I'm like looking at shows that go well or don't go well, I just kind of look at it and go, maybe they just didn't connect with that comic, because I don't know, I'm talking a lot about comedy right now, but you're a good person to talk to about this because you put on so many shows and you're also a comedian. So you're seeing both sides yourself.
I've definitely seen shows where comics just aren't a match for the audience, and it happens a lot. And like as a comic, like, oh, this guy's an excellent joke writer, or this guy is like this person's a great performer, but it's just not clicking because there's a disconnect. And like, I'll be like, I like to sit in the audience for all of my shows. Like I don't like green rooms.
Good for you.
Because I like to feel the energy of the room, I guess. And like, I can also like kind of gauge what's working. And like, if I have any similar material, I'm like, okay, I'm not going to do that. Like these kind of jokes are falling flat all night, so I'm not going to do that kind of joke.
Right.
But if I'm in a green room or whatever, and I'm disconnected from the audience, I don't know that. And like the first time I ever actually had a green room was our show in Tata.
Nice.
And I mean, everyone told me that I did fine. I did great, but like I felt so bad. I felt so disconnected from the audience. Something was off the whole performance. Yeah.
But the Tata show.
Yeah. I felt so off the whole time.
Huh. That's weird. And that isn't that funny though? That like everyone else can see, yes, you did great. And then you go, something wasn't quite right. And like, how do we figure out what that is? Did you do any like, are you the type that like as soon as you get off stage you're instantly criticizing yourself? Because I feel like most comics are like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're just instantly like, I didn't say this right.
Yeah, I'm instantly criticizing myself. I'm trying to figure out how to improve, what I did wrong, that kind of thing. It's usually negative, but also I'm pretty positive. Like I'm pretty confident and cocky. So like I can tell when I've done well.
Love that.
And like, so like when people are telling me like, even though I felt off, like, oh, you did great. Like I can see what they're saying. Like I know they're not lying to cheer me up. Yeah. Like I know that they generally thought it was a decent performance or whatever. But like, to me, it's just like that show. I fucked up my first joke. I just skipped a whole tag, a whole punchline, and then I remembered at the end. So I was like, okay, that's a good joke, so I'm gonna do it at the end. But it's a beginner. It's like a joke for the front of the set. So I did it, and it didn't land as well as it would have in the beginning, and like it didn't kind of make sense at that part of the set. So it was just like I couldn't tell if my performance was off because I missed that. So my whole set list was kind of out of sync.
It threw you off your game a little bit.
Yeah, like we were just talking about how, syncing our lips up to our movement or whatever. Like my set list was no longer synced to my performance.
Fuck, I hate when that happens. I hate when you miss just like something that would have been so good, and then you're up there and you're going, fuck, I missed that. And like, fuck, this would have been so much better if I'd like done this. Do you host a lot too, don't you? Do a lot of hosting?
Recently, yeah. Because I mean, I've been kind of booking my own shows, especially in like the Sydney area. So that's where I've been hosting mostly. And Tata, Marshall is great. Marshall.
Oh my gosh! Shout out to Marshall.
Yeah,
we have to shout out Marshall. I think
Marshall Fight.
I owe Matt Baker many favors, and he said you owe me. But but you just have to put me and Marshall on the podcast together, and we'll be even. And I was like, okay, let's make it work, Marshall and Matt. I'd love to talk to Marshall. I mean, what a cool thing that they've done there in Tata. Like it's truly so nice to see like these small communities like really embracing like arts, and especially comedy as an art form, and like this amazing venue. Like, let's describe it for people who might not know.
It's the Grace Arts Center in Tatamagouche.
Jollymore Grace, so good.
The Grace Jollymore Arts Center. They're an art gallery, and they have a performance center. They're part of Creamery Square. The whole thing. They have like different museums. They have Jameson's General Store there. It's just this really great little place in Tatamagouche that celebrates art. They have it even in the gallery, just like all of the pieces that they curate there. So fucking great. Like
so
they're really great art. Like if I was rich, I would try to buy it all, but I'm not. I'm a comic.
Something to strive for, Clifton.
Yeah.
Start saving.
And then the performance center, they have a theater there, and it's beautiful.
Amazing.
They're always booking like. Can't shout out Marshall enough. Marshall is doing so much good stuff. Like he worked to organize the This Is Not a Canada Day concert to celebrate Indigenous artists, which is so important. Booking all these different types of artists, like you said, comedy, embracing comedy as an art, where typically no one does. Like we can't get art grants or anything like that for comedy, even though it's performance art. You can get an art grant for ballet, but you can't get one for comedy,
which is wild. And I think there's this weird, there's this kind of stigma on comedy of like, that's like a dive bar thing. Like, let's put them in the dive bars. Whereas like a community like this being like, we have this amazing theater, and like come out, and like comics from all over can come and be on a show there, and it's one of my favorite memories of doing comedy, honestly, that show. I had so much fun. It was just so great, so awesome, great crowd, and like great energy. And like when people care about the shows that they put on, it makes such a difference. Yeah. You can really see people perform better because they know that like, I'm taken care of here. I'm going to get some money. There's drinks backstage.
Wait, you got money?
There might be other stuff backstage. Oh my God. So funny. So that show, Matt was driving me back, and it was, I've only been paid like a few times for comedy. Like I've done a good chunk of like booked shows, but I'm just this open micer. Like I don't fucking expect anything. Like I'm just happy to be here. So when I got paid for that show, I was like, holy shit, I wasn't expecting this much money. And then he goes, how much did you get? And I told him the amount, and I can't remember how much it was at the time. It was a good chunk of change. And he goes, no way, I only got this much. Thanks, Sarah. And my heart went, oh, like I should have known that he was joking, but in the car I was just like, are you kidding me, Matt? What? I'll give you my money. Here you go. Like I was just like, oh my God, I'm so fucking fickle. I'm very fickle. Very fickle. But yeah, no.
Yeah, that's the like we did a show last week in another little place in Upper Kennetcook.
Kennetcook.
Yes, it was me, Patrick Cadigan, who was also from Cape Breton, also really great. Mitch Tuesnard and Durham Laporte. And like
I saw that it was like a barn?
Yeah, it was in a barn.
Oh,
yeah, it was at a campground. And we were in a, like they had a barn as a venue, like for the campers, like they have music shows and stuff like that. And they had the comedy show that night. And I was just talking to Mitch, and Mitch, he's relatively new.
Yeah.
I mean, so am I, but like,
yeah.
Mitch is relatively new. And he was like, yeah, I don't even expect to get paid. So like I've been paid like this much for doing the open mic or whatever, like, get $10 or whatever. And like
10, like sometimes you'll get 40 and you'll be like, fuck yeah, I'm going to treat myself to some food after that.
Yeah, I can buy a drink at the show and I can get food after.
I can eat. Yes. So funny.
The way we ran the open mics in Sydney, it was just pay what you can, and then the headliner, whoever was the headliner that week, would get half of it, 50%, and the other comics would split the other 50.
Split amongst them, yeah.
Yeah, and the first time I ever headlined, a lot of natives from Eskasoni came out. A lot of people came out to support me or to see me fail. I don't know which one. I assume to see me fail because they haven't really been back.
Oh my gosh!
they came to the first show. Like there was like 100 people at our open mic, and then the next time I headlined, there was like 80 people at the open mic, and then the next time I headlined, there was like nobody.
Oh
it was they were just like, oh, I guess this is what he does. He's not gonna embarrass himself.
Oh. They're like,
which is what we came for.
Actually, really good. Fuck, this isn't what I wanted to see.
Yeah, so a lot of people came out to the first open mic, and like I said, I was the headliner, so I got 50%. I made like over $200 on my first headlines, and I was just like, wow, this is a lucrative career, comedy.
And then you're like, oh no, this was just a special circumstance that got me this. Really, there's not a lot of money at all, and it's a lot of work.
Yeah,
and you have to put so much time into is the thing. And it's did you have a strong start when you started stand up?
Decently. I mean, like my first set, my very first.
Yeah, because I heard that your first set, I read it in the article, that you went up because of a dare. So
well, it was my own dare. I mean,
it was your own dare.
I'm incredibly vain.
Are you?
So like I kind of planned it, but also not really. But I was just kind of like when we got. Okay, it's a whole long story, but to make a long story short, we got there, me and a group of friends, and I was just like, you guys dare me to go up on stage? And then they were like, yeah, do it. And I was like, really? You guys think I should? And then they're like, yeah, go for it. And I was like, all right, I guess since you're pushing me into it.
Oh my God. But you kind of wanted, you were kind of egging them on because you wanted to get up there.
Yeah, but I was also incredibly scared. I was incredibly nervous. I was with a group of friends playing squish basketball, which is like LGBT friendly, like all-inclusive basketball, right?
Squish.
SQWISH.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it was a group of us, just friendly basketball, no competitiveness kind of thing.
Yeah.
And a couple of my friends from Eskasoni were with me, but largely the group consisted of people from like Sydney and surrounding areas, Bradley Murphy, Ashley McKenzie, who are both incredibly supportive of me the whole time, and they're also great artists themselves. They were really great. They were supportive, but like I was so nervous because I knew that they were supportive people because they started an ally LGBT friendly basketball league, right. So they're nice, they're supportive. But my friends from Eskasoni were there, and they'll roast the hell out of me, right? So I was like, can you guys leave so that I can go up on stage because I don't want to be made fun of if this goes bad. So I kicked my friends from Eskasoni out of the room to do my set.
That's so funny. Well, yeah, because when you're starting, you just want that little boost to be like, I did the thing, and I didn't die. Like I got through it, and then you realize like, yeah, performing for strangers is really the best way to do it because you're really getting a sense of like if you're actually funny or not, which is.
Your first set was like you had a planned one, but then you just went up like a week early.
Yeah,
so
Matt Baker says that I had a wedding planned, but I decided to elope, and that's the best way to describe it because I built it up so much, and because people had known me in the comedy scene, it was like Sarah's making her grand debut at Ladies' Night at Oasis Pub, and it was built up so much, and all my friends were like, "We'll go and we'll support you." And I was like, you want to know what? Like, it was so much pressure. It was unnecessary pressure on myself to be like, my friends are coming. It's going to be a decent sized crowd. It's a ladies' night. Like, I'm up there with like, Catherine Robertson and like these women that I really look up to. And I'm like, just fuck, it's my first set and I'm not going to do well because it's literally my first time ever doing it. And I literally just went to Daily Grind one night. It was right after the I was recording with, I think it was Brandon on Durham. We did an episode here, and then on the podcast, you hear me go, "Oh, I'll be at Daily Grind later tonight just to watch. Though I'm just going to watch." And when I got there, I was like, "Oh God, I feel tempted to just get the nerves out, get those first initial talking to a crowd nerves out." And Matt was like, "Spot 13 is free," and I was like, and then I was like, "Okay, put my name down." And he's like, "It's done." And he like wrote my name down and he goes, "It's done. You're up." And I was like, "Oh shit, I can't turn back now." And it was like literally just like a small coffee shop, like not a huge crowd, but like no one I knew. All the comics were outside because it was summertime, so they weren't like sitting at the back judging me. Yeah. It was perfect. I truly don't regret it at all. My friends were pissed at me because they were like, "We wanted to see you." And I was just like, you don't understand how much of this is just like, let me just get up there and like speak words and get them out and get those initial nerves out of me so I can be slightly better for the second set. It still wasn't perfect, but it's actually the only tape I have of me that's like a cohesive comedy tape is my second set. And that was a year ago. So like,
you didn't record it like your stuff at Tata?
I have the Tata set. The Tata set is good. It's just visually not the best. The Oasis one was like straight on. You can like see me clearly. Yeah. I just don't like, I'll just gonna be honest, I don't like side shots of myself. So that tape, like I think I posted one clip from it and I could probably get some more clips from it. But when I think of like good sets that I have recorded, I think of like the Tata set, the Ladies Night set. And I did record my Yucks guest spot, but I haven't. You
haven't watched it back?
I haven't watched it back yet because I'm scared.
Yeah, I hate that. I've always, I don't know if I have nerves about it, but like every time I record myself, I go out of my way. I'm like, I want to set up my tripod. I'm going to set up my camera. I want to record this set so that I have some footage to either post on social media or to submit,
and that's a huge thing. Yeah,
to submit, or like, if I'm booking a venue, I can be like, here's some footage of me so you know who the hell I am.
Right.
Every time I do that, I feel like I do fucking miserably. Right. Like, I don't know if it's because of nerves or because I'm just overly critical of it.
Or maybe you're thinking too much about the recording. We had this moment in River John, actually, for the ladies' night, because we had thought that Corinne was gonna, because he usually tapes all the shows, which is wonderful. Actually, I'm gonna reach out to him to get that set because that might be a good one to have. But
I thought you said it was miserable.
Well, the first River John show. Yeah, I've done it twice. So the first River John show was good. And I did quite well. So I might try to get that set. But the ladies' night show was good. It was just, everyone did good. It was just the crowd was rowdy and like hammered. But we had these moments kind of wrangling because when we found out it wasn't being professionally taped, we were like, who has a phone? Who has space on their phone? And I was like, I have a phone with very limited space, but I have a tripod, so let's just do it. We'll share phones and share. Like me and Emma both recorded, like she recorded half the show on her phone and I recorded the other half on mine. And we had this moment of like talking to Kirsten and Adrian and Alva being like, every time that I know I'm being recorded, I don't do well. So maybe record me, but maybe don't. And don't tell me what it is. And I was like, I really like that idea of like just giving someone the power to record you and giving them the choice. And then you just going up and doing your thing and not really knowing if you're being recorded or not. Because I think that does play into your nerves a little bit when you know something's on the line, especially if you're sending that somewhere, like a competition or something, So
yeah, I recorded recently. I did a show in Inverness opening for Matt Wright, and I recorded that set.
How was that?
That was really great, really good. Lots of fun. He's hilarious. He's incredibly nice.
Oh, amazing!
Really cool guy. Yeah, I was the only opener, and like there was no host or anything, so I brought him straight up. My set was about 20 minutes, and I feel like it was great the whole time. But like I asked him to just hit record on my camera when I set it up, and he did it a little bit late, I think because the camera wasn't on or whatever, so it missed the first couple jokes, so I had to like get a clip out of there. I got a 10-minute chunk that I feel is really good. It's like the first time I'm ever proud of video I've gotten.
Oh, see, that's just it, right? Because I feel like you can record everything, but like the ones that you're like, it looks good and it sounds good. Those are hard to come by.
Yeah, this one looked good, sounded good. Like I didn't know what to expect from the sound because I had my camera kind of behind a glass window in the green room.
Right.
But it looked great. It sounded great.
Yeah.
I did. I mean, pretty good.
Fuck yeah, buddy. Good for you. We gotta give ourselves credit more, I think. For good sets. We really do as comedians. We're sad, insecure people. The most we could do for each other is like pump each other up and give ourselves credit. Like to go, I did good. Mm-hmm. And you don't have to go, I did amazing and I crushed. Like that's where ego comes in, right? Yeah. People overuse the word killed, crushed. It's always so violent. What other murdered?
Slayed.
They murdered.
Destroyed.
Yeah, it's just very, very aggressive. But like, just to go, I did good. Like, we need more of that.
My style too is like, I find it. That's why I love going to like pro shows or seeing someone like Matt Wright or seeing someone like Matt Baker. Mm-hmm. There are just so many punches per second. Like it's like they're constantly going and they're you're laughing the entire time. Where my style, I'm more of like a storyteller kind of person. Then I add a punchline at the end. So like I have like this kind of lull,
right,
and then big laugh, and then lull while they're listening to me. Like I recorded a set at the Daily Grind. Were you there?
Maybe
it was the Yucks.
Maybe I might have been there.
Yeah. I recorded my set and I felt like I did really well in the moment. And then I was like, okay, I want to watch this video back. And but I didn't want to watch the whole thing. So I was like skipping through and no one was ever laughing at any point I skipped to. And I was like, oh, maybe this wasn't as good as I thought. But it was just because I was talking and not being funny.
Oh, I see. That's so I love there's a saying that always sticks with me, which is like, when you do comedy, it's never as bad as you think, but it's never as good as you think either. So like the truth is kind of somewhere in the middle. Mm-hmm. Like, have you had, so like you said 3 years in, and I'm curious to know, like you made a comment before we recorded about you've only really truly bombed a couple times, you said.
Yeah.
So, have you ever experienced like growing pains? Because like I'm at the year point and I'm really not feeling great right now in terms of like,
settle down, Bo Burnham.
I actually needed to hear that. I really did. But I'm just at the stage of like, I want to write better jokes. I want to write a variety. I want my material to be more versatile, and I'm just in a funk. I'm in a funk, okay. And I'm not liking the old jokes. So did you ever get to a point like when you were like, a couple years in where you're going, I hate all this fucking shit that I'm doing. Like I hate my jokes. I don't want to do these jokes. And then you have to do them because you get shows and you have to do your best.
Yeah.
And usually your best is older bits that you've worked out longer.
Yeah, yeah. I've always been so kind of like, I've always been a guy who at our open mic in Sydney, I would want to come with new stuff every week. Every week have new material, regardless. So, maybe do a couple of old jokes in the set, but like at least have 1 to 2 new jokes per set kind of thing. And that was my focus. And I never really focused on hammering down
polishing.
I didn't focus on polishing anything, but like then I would be listening to your podcast and I'd hear someone like Travis say like, all the shit you write in the beginning is bad.
Yeah.
You're going to throw that out. Right. And then I'm like, really? All my best stuff is from like my first month. It's like I wrote all my best stuff long ago. And now I feel like I can't keep up with it.
But the thing is, and I wish Travis was here to confirm this, but I think there's some truth to that. It's just those bits when they started were something, but you've probably evolved them over time to make them better. So they could still be your best jokes. Because I agree with you. Some of the jokes I have are still my favorite ones to do. Like the ones that I just love so much because it's just such a good idea in the joke. But over time, when you stretch the muscle, you add tags to it, or you deliver it a different way.
Yeah.
Or you can build on it. I think I heard somewhere someone say, fucking Christ, where did I hear it? I listened to too many podcasts. I can't credit the exact person, but it was just essentially like, milk every premise to the fucking bone. Like if there's a funny premise, milk it. Like, I'm trying to develop a whole chunk about demisexuality. I have so many things to say about that whole thing of being like, I want to be a big slut, but I just can't. Like, I just love that idea. So like I'm developing a huge chunk.
If that's what being a demisexual is, that's me. I want to be a big slut, but I just can't.
But also but the can't is my own doing. It's not like, so why can't you be a slut?
Because I'm hideous.
Oh, stop it! Clifton! Stop that! Stop that right now! You are not. Are you someone who's... I feel like we're getting so away from my other segments that I have because I just love talking to you so much. But we're going to shift gears slightly. I start doing this thing with this kind of new iteration of the podcast where I tell the guest what I assume about them based on what I know of them. Don't punch me in the face. Ow! Because a lot of these are new guests that like I might not know as well.
Yep.
So based on what I know of you from, I would say, like social media and also just like what I've heard about you through the scene is I think that you are someone who has very few people that dislike you. Is that true?
I don't know. I mean,
that means you're...
Well, whenever I talk about something like this, it's like I try to be liked, but I assume that there are a lot of people who can tell that I'm trying to be liked and don't like that.
Really?
You know? I want to be liked. I'm like a people pleaser. That's what I try to be. Like I try to. So you'll hear people say, like, "Oh, Clifton's incredibly nice" or whatever, but people who are close to me are like, "Nah, Clifton's a fucking dickhead." You know.
See, this is fascinating to me because from what I've kind of seen of you, there's not one person who hasn't gone, "Oh, Clifton, what a great guy!" Like, and they say it like that. Like, they don't just say, "Oh, he's a nice guy." You know, like you'll see people around, like, yeah, he's nice. It's nice. But like everyone who ever talks about you is like filled with joy, like when your name comes up. And so like I was curious, but like, so what you're saying is that sometimes you put the act on to be liked. And so their version in their head of you might be skewed slightly, maybe. Yeah. But I think it's like more like I don't know, like a courtship process. Like where I'm with newer people or people that I'm not super familiar with, I try really hard to be nice so that they like me, and then I can let the guard down a bit. And then once they really get to know me, then, you know, they're in too deep. They can't get rid of me anymore. Oh, interesting. Are you someone who opens up a lot? Like, do you open up quickly?
Kind of, yeah. I'm pretty much an open book, emotionally, I guess. I'm not afraid to talk about emotions, or I'm not afraid to get sad.
I love that.
I do like a thing where I torture myself and I just watch sad videos on YouTube to make me cry.
Oh my God, I do that too. What type of sad videos?
I just keep rewatching like Jurassic Park from Futurama.
Oh, I don't know that.
You don't know that?
Is that a story in the show?
It's an episode of the show. And just like the plot line is incredibly sad. Or you haven't watched Futurama? I've
watched it like here and there, not consistently.
Okay,
but to be honest, Clifton, like that's not an offense to the show. That's just my life.
Yeah, yeah. Like I mean, I can't honestly expect anyone to just like be super into like I'm so crazy about Futurama.
I love that.
Yeah, like my pandemic depression thing last year was to just spend money. Like The online shopping was my coping mechanism.
Was it?
Because there was nothing else to do. Like you couldn't leave the house. In Eskasoni, actually, we were actually locked down. Like they put barricades up on either side of the reserve so nobody could come in or out.
Fuck. So you're like literally locked out.
Yeah, and there was a curfew of 7 p.m. or 6 p.m. So like we could only be in Eskasoni and we could only be outside of our house until 7 p.m. And then they hired like extra security and like it was like police state, honestly.
Holy shit, that's scary.
It was pretty nuts. So the only thing I could do was, go online, go on Amazon, go on eBay. So my pandemic coping mechanism was shopping, and I got into like action figures, which is like, which is probably another reason that I can't be a slut, because like it's just like perpetual virgin. Got like action figures on my wall. I actually have like some shelves, and I call it the wall of virginity. The Great Wall.
Have you ever? Were you ever blessed with meeting Andrew Vaughn when he was alive?
A couple of times, but like we never got close. Like I mean, I did
Gus's.
I did Gus's and Beerley's, and I think he was on that show the week before he died.
Fuck, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, Andrew also is a big, I wouldn't say action figures, but like he loves bobbleheads. He loves toys. His apartment would knock yours out of the water. Like the amount of toys, like you would walk in and it was like a couple full floor to ceiling shelves full of toys everywhere.
Yeah, it's kind of like my place. I mean, except I have it all in my bedroom and not the whole apartment. You know
what? I say, listen, I think it's really hot when a guy has a passion. So I don't think you should be ashamed, Clifton. At least you really like something. There's nothing worse than a guy who's like, I like online talking online on dating apps and stuff. Like, oh, like what do you like? What do you do? And I work my job, and I like to have patio drinks. It's like, what else is there about you that like everyone should have a passion? And like, while you might judge that passion, I think it's good that you have that. Good for you. Don't go in debt because of it, though.
Yeah, let's like, I'll take you to my apartment. You'll just be like, yeah, that's hot. Like all the toys.
The right girl will think it's hot. Right? I need to confirm with every guest these days. It's 2021. I don't want to assume anything, but I'm pretty sure you're straight, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure too. I mean, Yeah. Things could change, but
things could change. Sexuality is
people
fluid.
change, people grow. But
I do think if you find your match, they're not gonna care about that. They're gonna appreciate that about you.
I did a joke about that early on. I had I went to Walmart and I was flipping through their posters, and I found a poster of Ninja. Did you ever hear me do this joke?
No.
You know Ninja, the Fortnite guy, the Twitch streamer.
Oh yes, okay, yes.
He became incredibly big when like Fortnite was at its peak a couple of years ago. So there was like posters, like the Ninja merch in Walmart, and I was like, I'm gonna get this Ninja poster, and I put it up in my bedroom, right? And my friend comes over and he's like, do you ever plan on getting laid ever? And I'm just like, see, I'm like the kind of person where I'm like romantic, I guess. So like, I feel like if I got to the point where someone was in my bedroom, that's not going to affect the relationship.
Exactly.
And I was like, she won't care about the poster, she won't care what I'm into. And then my buddy's like, yeah, but now she'll think that what you're into is like 10-year-old boys who play Fortnite.
That's hilarious. But you're right. So are you someone so you're romantic. How are you romantic? Let's dive into that.
I'm not, but like, I don't know, just I watch a lot of movies. So like you asked for topics, and one of the topics that I gave you was like movies.
Yes.
I could talk about movies. So like, I don't know, maybe it's just me being like socially inept or whatever, but like all my ideas and values are like basically from movies. So like, you don't see people Netflix and chill in a movie. You don't see people just go straight to the fucking. There's always like a romance.
There's
like a courtship, and so that's what I envision it like in my head, and that's probably why it does. I never get laid.
When's your birthday?
The 17th, so like 10 days from now.
Oh shit. So you're a Leo?
Yes, I'm a Leo.
Oh damn. I was curious because a lot of romantic people are like water signs.
None of this makes any sense to me.
It doesn't matter. I don't know why. I always kind of like knowing what people's star sign is because it's just interesting. But I can totally see the Leo energy actually.
Really?
Now that I think about it.
Every post I see on Facebook
and charismatic.
It's like, here are the signs ranked, and it's like the best, and it's like Sagittarius women, blah blah blah, and then Leo men are always in the worst.
Wait, where did you see this ranking? And I want to know where I stand on it. Well, Sagittarius women are
it was
awesome.
just like people sharing it on Facebook or whatever. I can't recall who.
That's strange that Leo men would be the worst. I mean, I think the thing with Leos is people think that they're egotistical.
They're not wrong.
You said vain, so
Yeah.
I think, but I also think that that's fine, as long as you're not hurting anyone.
I've always kind of felt that way where like I feel like it's good to be confident, but it's bad to be cocky. And like
Love that.
the way I would say the distinguishing factor between those two for me is like, if you're putting yourself up, that's fine, but if you're putting others down in the process, it's bad. So if I was like,
ding,
I'm
ding, 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 ding. Got a bell ring. I gotta ding more.
Finally got a ding.
Oh my gosh.
I've been waiting.
It's a weird setup. Like,
I've been like, should I do it myself?
You can do it yourself. That's why I'm kind of putting it here, because the old setup, you used to kind of see this would be lower and like you would be beside me.
Yeah, we'd be sitting together.
And you could see the bell. So in this weird setup, you actually don't see the bell. It's just audio, but the bell is still here, people. And you're more than welcome to ding it if I say anything that like you really agree with. Or I always say the bell is like it's a yes bell, like yes. But it's also like if someone does a really good burn or something, you can ding it too. So
okay,
yeah.
if you burn me real good, I'll do it.
I feel like I only burn people that don't exist yet. I have all these like roast jokes kind of written for people I haven't met yet. Like I really want to look into a crowd and see like a douchey guy and just go like, you look like a guy that would plug your Snapchat in your Tinder profile. Like that's a very specific type of man. You know?
Yeah. So I was going to say that the difference for me, you know, is putting yourself up, not bringing others down. That's what got the ding, I think.
Yes, there.
And then so like I think it's fine for me to be like, oh yeah, I'm a great comic. Like I've been, you know, doing well for myself in comedy. I've been making people laugh, but it would be bad for me to be like, yeah, I just did a show and I slayed and I was way better than Sarah was.
Right. Oh, that's a great point. That's a great point. It reminds me of a quote from the amazing Olivia Rodrigo, who is a superstar pop star right now. But she has a lyric that says, she has a song called Jealousy, Jealousy, which goes into being jealous of others or comparing yourself on social media to others. And the lyric is, their win is not my loss. And it stuck with me for a long time. When someone wins, it's not your loss that they're winning. And same for you.
Mm-hmm.
When you win, it's not their loss. So you make such a great point. And that whole like, I'm better than you, or like that's where ego, I think, really fucks comedians up when they get to that point.
Yeah. Yeah, you definitely see that. And like, I don't remember who was saying it recently, but I saw someone saying that comedy should be more like a team sport and we should all cheer each other on instead of we think it's a competition fighting for imaginary spots that aren't there, or you know, maybe they are spots that are there, but like, you know, someone who's doing really well is Travis. He just did Just for Laughs.
Travis, yes. He just did Just for Laughs. He has his album taping next week, which I should see you there. Yeah,
I'm going to be at both shows. Yeah, you know, I'm going to try to provide a consistent laugh.
Yeah, and I mean, it's that balance between going, I know what I've done. I've put my work in. I know my strengths. But I think with comedy, we all just have to appreciate what everyone does individually. Mm-hmm. Because hopefully if you're doing your job as a comedian, you're finding your own voice. And you're not going to be like the people. Like, you should just be like you.
Yeah.
And I wrote a note on my mirror, or like I taped it on my bathroom wall recently, which was just like, focus on your own shit. Focus on your own shit. Focus on your own jokes. This is why I write from my life, because I'm like, no one else has this life.
Yeah.
Like, why don't I have more jokes about podcasting? You know, like I told you before I turned this on, like I feel like I podcast rape people sometimes. That could be a joke. Why am I not joking about that yet? Like you gotta just, I don't know, appreciate what you yourself as an individual can bring to the art.
Yeah.
And when you start comparing yourselves to others, and I really think it's just that idea of like, it is a crushing feeling when you're in a crowd and you get tepid laughs and you do okay, but then other people kill and you just go like, why am I not killing? That's a shitty feeling. Have you had any feelings like that sometimes where you're just like, I'm not good enough. Like I wish I could be like a Travis or, you know.
No, not necessarily. Like we've said, like, you know, or like I said, I've only bombed a couple of times or like I feel like my audience reactions are generally pretty good.
Yeah.
Generally consistent. And like one thing that I get told very often by people after shows, compliment that I've received a lot is that I seem genuine. I seem like myself on stage.
Yes.
They're like, it almost feels like we're talking to a friend.
Yes.
Or a friend is talking to us.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's a good thing, and it can be a bad thing. Like,
ooh, do you think?
You're a criticism that I got fairly recently was, and it was a positive criticism. The guy that said it said, I have great material. I've got great stances, but I need to polish my stuff a bit more, polish my delivery.
Okay.
And it's like, if I got super polished and punched it up a lot, I feel like I wouldn't feel as genuine anymore.
I think sometimes people can get too comfortable on stage. I can kind of see, not necessarily with you, but I could see that being a thing that people would look at comics and go, like, you're not
a pro.
It's interesting. Who said it? I've been kind of observing. I've been doing a lot of observing lately about just like different comics and just how audience react to different comics. And like I heard something recently, which was essentially just like, so many people get up there and it seems like they don't care because they might not be doing fully polished jokes. Like they might be kind of like talking with the crowd, going back and forth. And a lot of people see that as like, oh, like you're too casual, you know? So it's like, you have to find that balance between like showing like that you care and also being funny. And
yeah, you're not a
hard.
Professional funny man. You're just a funny man.
Yeah.
Or something.
Yeah.
I guess.
Which is have there been gigs that you've done where you go, I gotta bring it for this one? Like I really gotta.
I try to think like that almost every time.
Good for you. That's
but
awesome.
Like typically I do try to, like, when it's something bigger, like the show last week in Inverness or 2 weeks ago, whenever it was, with Matt Wright, I was just like, you know, this is a big opportunity.
Yeah.
I need to do well, and I feel like I did. Shows that are kind of like I was treating all of the shows in Halifax that way. Like whenever I would show up to Oasis or wherever,
right.
I'd be like, I have to bring my A game. It kind of like screwed me over one time. I went to Oasis, and I basically, like, the first time I did Oasis, I think Chanel was the host, and it was like, you know, early 2019. Yeah. And then I went again, and I did basically the same set, and some lady came up and she was complimenting me. She was like, "Oh, you're so funny, blah blah blah. Like, I remember you from last year. You did like all the same jokes, but they were great." And I was just like, I did all the same jokes.
Feeling.
I did all the same jokes from a year ago. At least they were memorable that she knew I did them a year ago. But like,
there you go.
But like,
yep.
I don't know. It kind of felt shitty.
It's a shitty feeling. It happened to me in River John, actually. Because I remember when I got booked for the ladies' show at River John, I went, like, it's been a couple months, but like, I'm doing a similar set. There might be one or two new like jokes that I didn't do last time. But like, if we're talking like my strong 7 minutes, it's the same 7 minutes. Because I'm a fucking year in, bitches. Yeah. And someone also came up to me after and said, I saw you last time, but I love you. And I was just like, it's a compliment, but at the same time, you're like, fuck, why didn't I? But if we're always writing new stuff on the chance that someone in the crowd has seen you before, we're going to be putting out dribble constantly.
Well, yeah, that's what it was when I said I was trying to write new stuff weekly at our open mic in Sydney. It was just like, because the crowd was always the same. It's
regulars,
like, I don't want to just do the same jokes every week. So like, I would listen to your podcast and I hear someone experience say, you know, you're only a year in or 2 years in, what you should be working on is a tight 5.
That's right.
Like for that whole 1 to 2 years. And it's like, I'm almost 3 years in now. I'm 2.5 years in. And like, I have almost 3 hours worth of material. Right?
I mean, but you're also doing shows. Like, what's the longest set you've ever done?
1:10.
2.5 years in? That's fucking amazing. What the fuck, Clifton? What's in the water there?
You just talk slow.
But like, what do you so like, I get the sense that like you're someone who is just, you're naturally gifted in terms of being funny. Like you have that natural, you're just naturally funny. And this came easy to you. Is that true? This must have been like when you started doing comedy, something clicked in you, right? You were like, this is it. Kind of.
I wouldn't say that I'm naturally funny as so much as I have a group of friends who are all naturally funny. So I have great people to bounce ideas off of who will, you know, give me ideas. You know, I'm kind of a hack. I steal jokes from my friends, kind of.
But I mean, I think hanging out with funny people.
Yeah, hang out with funny people
can stretch your muscle, even if you're not doing stand up. You have to, because you have to be quick and you have to be on with them.
Yeah, exactly. I love hanging out with Matt Baker for that reason.
Yes,
Matt
Big
Baker.
Shout out to Matt Baker. Let's do the Matt Baker. Okay, I'm gonna set the timer. We are going to set the timer for 1 minute and talk about Matt Baker and how awesome Matt Baker is. All right, ready?
1 minute.
Go.
That's it.
Go. 1 minute.
Matt Baker is incredible. He's so funny. I've been like, you know, I've known him for a bit now, and he's always, you know, providing opportunities. He's always reaching out and, you know, helping others, not just me, bunch of people, a bunch of comics. He's so incredibly nice. Like I was just talking to Chris Halef last night, and he's got nothing but good things to say about Matt. I mean, I'm the same. He's so incredibly witty. He's so incredibly talented. Like he's quick. He, like, you know, people. He even thinks like he's been kind of shoehorned into doing crowd work and stuff like that, but it's because he's so fucking incredible at it. And it's not just that. Like
15 seconds.
I've mostly seen him host and stuff, but like he's been headlining recently, and just seeing him come with his written material and mixing it with his crowd work, it's so incredible. He's always on fire for like he did, I don't know, 45 to an hour.
Time's up. That's all you get, Matt. Okay, no, I'm just joking. Keep going. He did 45 to an hour
in Tatamagouche for his like album recording,
which I didn't know was an album taping, by the way. And I was pissed at him because I was like, if I had known this, I would have made a trip up to see it. But I also appreciate the fact that he did it kind of like, you know, he didn't advertise it as an album taping, which is an interesting way to do it, I think.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's good or bad, but how was the show? I didn't see it. How did he do?
He did incredible. He's, like I said,
he'll never say it himself.
He wouldn't. He'd be critical of himself like most comics are, but it was so good. And it's just like, you know, seeing him at the Grind or seeing him at other like more casual open mic settings, he's just kind of riffing, and it's like, yeah, he's really funny and stuff like that. But then to see him do a full headline set, you're like, holy shit, this guy is a pro. This guy is a fucking professional.
Hear that, Matt?
Yeah,
you're right. You're totally, and he is, and he's that natural raw talent that like doesn't come along that much, you know. And I think every comedian could be great. Some it just takes longer or more work than other people.
Mm-hmm.
With someone like him, he's like, I think he has the natural talent, but I also think he has the work ethic that contributes to him being so fucking good.
Yeah,
you know, it's that combination.
It might just be like how laid back of a personality he has.
Yeah,
and you like. It almost feels like left field, like with me especially. Like people will talk about, I've been practicing my set in the mirror or whatever, or I've been recording myself and timing myself to get my jokes down. I don't have that work ethic. I don't do that.
Maybe you don't need to though.
I kind of need to.
Do you bring notes? Like when you do a 20-minute set, do you bring notes up or no?
Yeah,
you do.
I bring like a set list.
Okay, a set list. Yeah, not notes. You're not reading from notes, but
Yeah.
you have a guide as to
like
what you're doing.
Like right now, I've been working on about a 10-minute set that I do know in my head, like start to finish.
Yeah.
But then if I did the 20-minute set, I need notes after that 10-minute chunk of polished set.
Right.
To be like, okay, where do I go from here? Because the 10-minute chunk that I've been working on is kind of like my native stuff.
Nice.
Because that's what's going to get you booked.
I was going to ask you about that.
You got to play the affirmative action.
Well, it's interesting because you and I had a chat in the car where you were talking about residential schools, and I was just like, I don't know much about this. Stupid white girl. Just a fucking idiot. I was going to... At least I know it. Clifton. But like, it's one of those things where like when all that stuff went down, I just kind of thought like, I'm curious to see as what you're going to do with this. And like, if your writing will change based on these discoveries and stuff. And is that the case? Have you written jokes about it?
I've got some jokes about it. I try to, I don't try to be careful. I mean, it's obviously a very important subject, very important subject matter. And I'm never going to disparage victims or anything like that. But like, I do like to think that my jokes about the subject are informative and clever and non-offensive to victims. I don't care if I offend white people. Fuck you guys.
Well, I mean, you're in it, right? Like you're allowed to. You know, so interesting. And like, have you gotten any weird backlash, or like has the response been like fairly?
No, the response has been fairly good. I mean, we'll see if I have a larger native crowd, but like it like the article that was in the Cape Breton Post about me was like about how I'm tackling these subjects, right? And you know, I have some jokes about the moderate livelihood, the lobster stuff. Like you've heard that joke.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Which I think I have improved on recently. And then I have, you know, just more general jokes. I've always kind of like felt I don't want to lean into the native stuff because I don't want to get shoehorned into it.
Right.
I don't want to be stuck. And I say stuck, I mean, it would be an incredible opportunity to be able to travel around to different reserves and to bring laughs and all that stuff. Yeah. But I don't want to be shoehorned into that. Like, no. I want to be known as a versatile comedian.
Absolutely.
Like, you know, I don't want to do all of my stuff for CBC Indigenous. It would be great to do it for CBC Comedy.
That's right. I mean, hey, that's like, you don't want to be typecast into being a certain character. And that's fucking fair. But it's also awesome that you can speak to those things in a way that's smart and funny and can actually like alleviate some of the feelings around this thing. Because that's a good fucking thing to do for people to be able to go to a comedy show and like hear you say something that like hits with them or that they relate to, and to be able to laugh at that despite how fucking painful and like brutal it is to deal with this. Like you gotta feel good about that, right? That you're spreading, you're making people
think about it. You're making people think about it. Yes. So when I talk about like the residential school discoveries, the bodies and stuff like that, you know, when I introduce that topic, it does take like a more somber tone in the room.
People shut up probably.
People shut up. People listen and they're like, okay. And then I do an explanation of what's going on at the beginning of the joke. I'm like, you know, the bodies at these different residential schools have been discovered. We're up to you know, whatever the body count is now. Which is, I mean, at 11 schools, over 2,000 currently, plus in the Truth and Reconciliation thing, there was over 3,000. So it's like 5,200 it's at right now. So like,
just unthinkable.
It's unthinkable. It's crazy. So I bring that up and it takes a somber tone, but then, you know, I lighten the mood because we're at a comedy show. So then, but like, I the last thing I want is these children to be forgotten, you know? So bringing it up in a comedy show puts it on people's minds. Even if it's funny, they'll leave the show thinking, that was a funny joke about a sad subject, and then maybe what can I do more to, you know? See, now you're sad because I haven't delivered a punchline.
You're gonna make me cry. No, I think that's so wonderful that you're doing that, because you're right. even if you make them laugh, like they are gonna go away going, that was a memorable joke, and like now I'm thinking about it, and like maybe they'll, donate money, or do something, or even just being more aware of it is so important. Just awareness, I think is so important. If that can come through comedy, like wonderful. When you are writing about these sensitive subjects, do you have to, so like, are you someone who like you experience a feeling or something comes up and you experience the feeling? Do you need to take some time to like feel that before you write jokes, or do you just instantly go to jokes?
Instantly.
It true
sucks.
Comic right here.
It
True
sucks.
comic right here.
Someone will like die or something, and then I have a joke and I'm like, oh, it's too soon. But like,
it's a trauma response in a weird way.
Yeah, it is. And especially like, you talk about Native people. We've been through so much trauma that humor is a trauma response. It's a coping mechanism. That's why so many Native people are incredibly funny.
Wow.
But it's instant.
It's almost like you have to do something to keep yourself going.
Yeah, and I feel like that almost applies to most comics. Like we started to discuss this earlier.
Yes.
About comics with like mental health issues or depression.
Yep.
Kind of thing, and like comics are sad guys. Comics commit
sad
suicide.
We're literally like the sad clown paradox.
Yeah.
Is what it is, and which is interesting because you're someone who definitely like you're a storyteller, but you pull from your life. Right? Like your life experiences. Not every comic is like that, but I still think even the comics that are doing jokes that aren't so personal, I do think the act of doing comedy comes from a place of sadness. And because we're like, laugh at us. We want to make you happy. People please. Like validate through your laughter. It comes from a sad place. Would you agree?
Yeah, I feel like it's more like the world is incredibly fucked. The world is incredibly sad, and I'm trying to make it bearable. Not just for me, but for everybody. So you make jokes to make
other people happy.
To make other people happy so that they can better deal with how fucked the world is.
But this is my thing. How do we as comedians also make sure that we're happy?
Eat a lot of ice cream.
I'm lactose intolerant. What do I do, Clifton?
Eat dairy-free ice cream.
It's not as good. It's not as good.
Have you ever tried like Dole Whip?
No.
There's a place in Cape Breton, Georges River Ice Cream. They have this Dole Whip. It's like it's basically like, I don't know how the fuck they do it, but I think it's like pureed fruit or something.
Oh yeah.
It's like frozen yogurt almost, but they also have vanilla, and somehow their vanilla is dairy free as well. And they do like a swirl, and it's fantastic.
Ooh, I love a swirl ice cream.
Yeah.
Like chocolate and vanilla. Yum, 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 yum.
I have a few friends who are like vegans, and like we just go to Georges River for like I order the Dole Whip even though I'm not lactose intolerant or I'm not
yummy.
vegan, just because it's so fucking good.
So good. But honestly though, I do wonder what like I do think about it quite a bit, which is like I do think that comedians really we also have to really make sure that we're also happy. What we do is kind of, we're doing it for other people to make them happy, but like we gotta keep ourselves fucking in check too. And I don't know what that is. Maybe the government should offer free therapy to comedians or come on my podcast, free therapy. But
therapy.
Like, what do you do? Like, do you, like you said that you instantly go to writing jokes, which I think is very common. When Andrew died, the night that we all found out, an instant group chat was formed with all of his comedian friends and comedian adjacent friends. Just instant jokes, instant roasting. Oh, I hope the paramedics are strong lifters. Like stuff like that. Like instant. And it was, for me, I had not started stand-up yet. And I was just like, my friend died. And I was like, I have to actually turn off the notifications of this group chat because I couldn't deal with jokes right away. Like the whole this new iteration of Intoxicated is feel hard, talk hard. So like feel first and then talk about it. Because I'm a big proponent of that. Is there any, like, do you see yourself learning to deal with feelings better through comedy, or do you think you have some work to do on yourself?
I don't know.
That's a deep question. I'm sorry.
It is a deep question.
It's a heavy one to ask.
But yeah, I don't know.
Are you someone who's like, are you a depressed person?
I have episodes. I have
You have
depressive episodes.
You don't seem like, you seem like a happy, like that's why I said my assumption was like everyone likes you because you seem very happy all the time.
No.
No,
I'm
the case.
like, I've got resting bitch face. I'm just like like if you play the video back, like basically anytime you're talking, I'm just like.
That's okay though. But you're smiling now. Yeah. I don't think that's. But when you go through hard times, have you been through a lot of hard times in your life?
I mean, everything's relative. I mean, I've had hard times. Other people have had harder times. Other people have had less hard times. But we're all having hard times.
We're all, literally all of us.
Yeah.
All of us.
I've been like fortunate enough that I mean, I haven't lost anyone close to me or anything like that. Like I've lost a few people that are kind of close to me, but like really like my grandfather when I was 7, he passed away. That would probably be like the most impactful death that in my life, and that's when I was 7. You know, that was ages and ages ago. I mean, another great comic. This would be kind of like my Andrew Vaughn, I guess, would be Mike Gillis. I don't know if you ever heard of Mike Gillis.
Not sure.
Mike Gillis was from Cape Breton. He passed away in 2019.
Okay.
October 2019. Yeah, he was incredibly funny. Yeah, I love that guy. I loved Mike so much. He was incredibly supportive of me. Incredibly funny himself. Like whenever I see someone perform, I always like kind of rank them in my head. It's like not them as a person, but like that's one of the funniest sets I've ever seen, or one of my favorite sets I've ever seen.
Or memorable. Or like well, actually, if you're on stage and you make another comedian stop chatting with the other comics and watch you, you're probably doing something right.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah. And Mike, like the first time I ever saw him, not the first time I ever saw him, the first time I ever saw him, he was kind of fucked up drunk and he did not do well. But the second time I ever saw him, he did a set and it was like so incredibly funny. I was just dying. He was in a wheelchair, right? And like a lot of his subject matter would like he was like roasting himself and all that, and it was just like so incredibly funny to me, and I just like fell in love from that moment. And like we were becoming good friends when he passed away. But that's like the difference, I guess. Like you were friends with Vaughn for a long time. Not really, actually. Well, a few years.
About 2 years solid of friendship, but like we were, you know, probably to the outside at least considered like new friends. You know, like a young friendship. But like in the time that we were friends, it was a very close friendship. So like I'll be at some point getting a tattoo to like tribute to him, just based on like how he's influenced me, how I think about stand up. I don't know, like we just a part of me is like I can't wait to die because I'll get to hang out with Andrew again. Like that's how close we were. So short amount of time, but like big impact. Big impact.
And like with Mike, I'd say it was kind of the same, but like we never got to the point where we were like super duper close, hanging out all the time. But like we were getting there. Like we were talking more often, and like, you know, all this. And it, like when he passed away, it was just like I was robbed of a potential friendship, of a potentially great friend. And
that's sometimes the worser one, right? Because you don't have the memories that you wanted to have with that person.
Yeah.
It's kind of like it reminds me of like heartbreaks, and like when you get hurt by someone you never dated. It's the same kind of feeling. It's like we could have. Oh, what could have been? And like the grief of potential.
Yeah.
Is a tough type of grief to deal with, for sure.
Yeah.
How did he die?
He was I forget what the name of his ailment was.
Oh, he was sick.
But he was sick for his whole life. He outlived his expectancy by 8 years or something. Like he was expected to make it to 35 and he was like 42, 43 when he passed away. So, yeah.
Wow. I mean, we really, if we don't have our health, we don't have much, eh? It's like, if we, it's just, it makes me mad sometimes because I'm like, I don't take care of myself and I treat my body like garbage.
Mm-hmm.
And like then there's these amazing people who are sick, and it's just like, fuck, why can't I be sick? I feel guilty sometimes about not getting, like just give it to me. Like I'm being selfish, and I'm truly not taking care of myself. I'm not good at it. What about you? Are you good at self-care?
Do I look like I'm good at taking care of my... Jesus Christ.
I don't, but like when I see you, I don't go, you're unhealthy. I don't think that at all.
Oh, I'm definitely unhealthy. But like I've figured out the solution.
Ooh, what's the solution?
Don't ever see the doctor, and he'll never tell you you're unhealthy.
That's what Andrew Vaughn did. Didn't go great for him, Clifton.
Great minds think alike, I guess. Great comics
but
think alike.
You know what? Like, that's funny because I am working on a joke that's like I treat myself by making a doctor's appointment. That's my treat for myself to go, what all is wrong with me? Like, let's find out kind of thing. Yeah.
I really do think I should start taking better care of myself, maybe, seeing the doctor, but like I have this like kind of fear, not of the doctor or anything, but like when I think about the future, when I think about dying, I'm like, I'm overweight right now, and I haven't been taking care of myself for a bit. Like I'm probably, if I'm lucky, going to make it to like early 70s, if I'm lucky.
Okay. So like we all have weight things. Like weight is always something that makes us go, we're not healthy. But are there other things with your health that's like making you think that?
No, nothing besides that. But just like,
so what makes you think you'll only live till 70?
One thing my uncle said, my great grandfather died at 64. My grandfather died at 60, and my uncle was like, oh, so I'm probably going to die around 60. So he's like, I'm just going to live life to the fullest. And then I'm like, if you're living life to the fullest, like partying and whatever, you're probably only going to make it to 60. You're self-fulfilling that prophecy. So like when I think about like, not a lot of people in my family, or not a lot of the men in my family have made it very long. I'm like, if I'm lucky, I'm going to get to 70. And then I start thinking like, oh God, that's not long enough. Like,
no,
it's
not.
That's soon.
How old are you now?
28. I'm like, that's soon, relatively. And then I'm like, that's not far away. But then I'll get on like an airplane, and then I'll be like, this airplane could crash, and I'm content with the life I've lived.
You have to strike the balance between living life to the fullest, but being healthy at the same time, which is the challenge. Because if your idea of living life to the fullest is, drinking all the time, eating anything you want, eating fast food all the time, and then you're getting, it's a tough fucking thing to like figure out. But I think, I do see so much value in exercise. I'm a shitty eater. Like that's something that I'll always be a shitty eater. But like eat as good as you can eat. Like don't subscribe to diets because they'll never work. But just do your best. That's what I always just say. I'm just like, just do your best to eat. Like if you can get a salad instead of fries, maybe do that every now and then, even though that fucking sucks and I hate it. I hate salads.
You know what is pretty lit? When like McDonald's for Happy Meals has like apple slices. Those are great.
Have you? I've never.
I never order a Happy Meal, but
on the subject of health, and I guess like taking care of yourself, what are your thoughts on death? Are you scared of it? Are you?
Yeah, I'm terrified. I'm terrified of death.
Good.
I don't like to think about it. That's why I was saying, like, when I think about 70, I'm like, that's not long enough. I need more time. Like, if I could become a vampire, I would. Like, I would definitely want immortality. Yeah, like, what? I think maybe because I haven't suffered loss so much in my life, I'm very emotionally disconnected from it. So like when people are like, yeah, the problem becoming immortal would be like everyone you love dies. I'm like, yeah, they do that anyway. So like there's only upside to this.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, the upside is it ain't me.
Exactly. So anyone who loves me is never going to experience that loss.
Yeah.
I'm doing this for my friends. Trust me. I'll be sad, but they'll be happy. They'll be fine. They'll never have to lose the great me.
It would be interesting to have the choice between like you'll die in a couple years, or maybe let's say 10 years. You'll die in 10 years, or you could live forever. I don't know what I would pick, because what would you not get to a point when you're living forever where you just go, I'm exhausted?
I mean, would you just have endless energy? You would, But I am like, I'd imagine if you could live forever, you would die when everything else has to die.
You would die at the end of the world.
Yeah, there's inevitably going to be like a heat death. The sun is going to consume everything or explode, and like,
oh, God,
you'd probably have to die there. You're not going to just be floating around in existence.
I would love to see the end of the world because I get FOMO a lot, and I feel like if it was like we're all gonna die together, I think I would feel so good about that because I'd be like, I'm not gonna miss out on anything. We're all dying.
Yeah.
That's the ultimate, like, okay, bring it. You know, there's a movie. It's called Melancholia. Do you know this one?
I think
Kirsten Dunst.
I've heard the name, but I haven't seen it.
It was like, it's kind of a polarizing movie. Like, people either really, really like it or they're like, oh, this was shit. But essentially, what the movie is like this girl with like insane depression, like clinical depression. It opens on her wedding day. She goes and fucks a stranger in a golf course, and then like her husband leaves her, and like then she like falls into this like pit of depression, and then there's a planet that's like coming towards Earth, and they're kind of like, we don't know if it's gonna hit Earth or not. It may or may not, you know. And it's just like each day, like you can see this planet getting closer in the sky. Then it turns out that it is going to hit. And all the people around her are panicked. Like her sister is like fighting it. She doesn't want it to happen. And she, the depressed one, is like, has never been happier. And she's the calm one. She accepts it. And she's like, this is happening and I'm embracing it. And it's just, it's the last scene, I gotta say, it fucking sticks with you when you watch it, because you're like, one person's panicking as this fucking meteor is coming, like to Earth, or it's a planet, hitting Earth, and like she's just sitting there like, let's go. And I'm like, I always think about that, because I'm like, I really want to be around for the end of the world. Is that really like dark to say? Would you want to be around for it?
I mean, kind of.
Yeah. We're in it together.
Yeah, you're
Let's
in
go
it
out
together, and you know for sure that you've lived long enough, because so is everyone else. I mean, that's the metric you judge by, right? Like when I'm like, yeah, 70 isn't old enough. It's because other people are making it to 90, other people are making it to 100, and you're like, that's where I want to be. I want to just fade out.
Yeah.
And it's like,
fade. Yeah.
I don't want to go earlier than other people.
Yeah.
So if everyone's going at the same time,
perfect.
You got nothing to complain about anymore.
I totally agree. I really want the world to end. It'd be great. So much less pressure. Then I won't have to worry about doing good at an open mic. Like I'll just be like, well,
I'd still want to kill an open mic.
How would you spend your last day?
Like if I was to die soon?
Yeah, if let's say that there is a planet coming towards Earth and it's going to hit in 24 hours, what would you do?
I don't know. I mean, it sucks to be like talked about, you know, always wanting to get out of where you come from kind of deal, because everywhere else is better. It's like if the world is going to end tomorrow, I don't know what I would do, because I'm still stuck fucking here.
Like ideally, yeah, that's interesting, because when I think of like big dreams that I have, or like big goals, like I really want to go to Greece. Like that's my number one travel. I would just love to take like a month off and like go live in Greece for a month. But like when I think of like the world ending, I'm like, no, I want to be in Antigonish. Like
really?
Maybe with my, I mean, I think I would want to be around as much people that I care about as possible. But like, I also am just like, I don't know if I'm anyone's. Oh, this is sad. I don't know if I'm anyone's end of the world buddy, because I think my end of the world people have their end of the world people.
I mean, they'd probably let you in.
Yeah, can I just third wheel on the end of the world?
Yeah, exactly.
With someone, that would be nice.
That's
what
you have to do anyway.
I want an end of the world person for sure. Like I want to have that.
You want to buddy up, end of the world buddies?
Okay, why don't it's a pact? If we don't find our end of the world people separately, we will be each other's end of the world people.
Okay, And this is
But
one of those great packs.
We kind of have a distance though, because Cape Breton and Halifax are a little bit.
It's not
far.
that far. If we have 24 hours,
far.
you know, you drive 2 hours, I drive 2 hours. We meet in the middle. Then we have 22 hours.
And I say we get a bunch of junk food and put on like our favorite music, and just fucking go out, baby. Like, just do it. We gotta hold ourselves to this pack though. If something in our life while we're still alive, Clifton, no matter where you are,
if the world's about to end,
but only if we don't find like soulmates.
Yeah. This is like, you know, one of those packs you make where like, if neither of us are married by 40, let's just get married.
Yes, this is what it is.
Kind of thing. Except like that's very, very possible. Like,
yeah.
But the end of the world is a lot less possible.
Clifton? I really don't. I don't think I'm ever going to get married. I don't think it's going to happen for me. What about you? Do you want to get married?
How about this? If the world's ending in 24 hours, I'll propose.
Oh my God. I actually really like that because at least then I can go out going, someone asked me at least. At least I got asked, because I think so much of being a woman is like, I think sometimes you're just like, I'm so great. Why has no one even just asked me yet? It's not really about the answer. But like, why has no one asked yet? Like, I'm awesome. I'd be a great wife.
I would definitely say no, but I'd like to be asked.
I'd like to have the option, please. I don't know if I even want to get. Do you want to get married? Is marriage something that you see for yourself?
I mean, I've always been kind of like my parents didn't get married till they were like years and years into the relationship. Like they already had all the kids. I think my mom already had her tubes tied, kind of thing. They got married in 2010.
Oh wow.
And like they were always just like, yeah, we're essentially married, and like I kind of feel the same way. Like, what's the point of having a big wedding? But at the same time, I do like the idea of weddings.
I do too.
Like my buddy Kwana is getting married Labor Day weekend, and I'm in that wedding, and I'm so glad to be part of it. I'm like super glad that my friend asked me to be, you know.
It's an honor, right?
Yeah. It's like I'm one of the selected few.
Yes, you are. Yeah. I feel like you'd be a great wedding MC.
Yeah, they were like, you want to do like comedy at like the reception? And I'm just like, not really. That's your night, not my night.
Yeah,
you know?
that would feel weird.
Like, sure, you want entertainment, and I can provide entertainment, but like a big reason a big reason I do comedy is so that people fucking pay attention to me and like get.
But what if you specifically wrote jokes about them, or like roast jokes about them?
That's for the best man speech, right?
It's true. Really, yeah. Are you a roasty person? Do you like roasting people?
Not really. I mean, some people come up with great roast jokes, like almost on the spot, where it's like, you look like you, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah,
and it's like,
I love those.
Like, at the Intoxicated live show, when I was there with the camera, and Travis was like, you guys look like you were the evil guys in the German bobsled movie.
One of the best fucking lines of the night. Travis wasn't even one of the debater comics. He was just fucking judging it and fucking roasted this table of like blonde, muscly guys. Oh my God, that was so fucking, and it was so dead on. Like, to just have that like very specific reference that is like, everyone goes, yes, that's exactly what they look like.
Yeah.
I love that so much. Oh my God, I love roasts. You had an assumption about me. It was really funny in DMs when I was like posting about the fairs, being like, I feel like you're someone who hurl on every single fair ride.
You do look like that.
Do I look like that, or is it just because you know me?
No, I think it's the look. You just, or maybe it is because I know you a bit, but like,
I look like I would be anxious and have stomach problems.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, you're not wrong. I have the worst stomach.
I mean, it is a fair assumption.
It's a fair assumption.
But like, I can do roller coasters. Like, I've been to like Universal Studios, Disney World, all these places, Six Flags, with these great rides, and I'm great at rides. Yeah. But the fair rides are just like spinny. Yeah. Usually they don't like do flips, or they don't go high, and those make you sick so fast. And really like, I can't do them.
And they really knock off your perception.
Like, tilt-a-whirl is like the tilt-a-hurl, you know?
I gotta say, I love the tilt-a-whirl, because when you get into that, when you fall on like a tilt that's like a really big spin,
yeah,
you get that feeling in your stomach of like, it's kind of like a sick feeling, but it's also like, I need to laugh. And you get the giggles so hard in the tilt-a-whirl. I fucking love the tilt-a-whirl.
My favorite ride
Always
at the
going
fair
up.
growing up was the Gravitron.
Oh, yes! The Gravitron!
Gravitron is the best. I used to, like, I would get on the Gravitron and then, you know, fight the gravity and, like, try to stand up and, like, walk around.
Did it ever work?
Yeah, I was pretty good at that. And, like, there were, like, cool Gravitron operators, too. Like, the guy in the middle would just, like, get up and he'd like go fucking stand sideways on a railing and it'd be like, this guy is sick. That's what I want to be.
So funny.
And,
oh my God.
But like getting on it when you're older, it's just it's so sickening.
Well, the zero gravity ride at the fair that I was on is essentially the Gravitron, but it tilts, like it goes.
The Roundup?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's been called the Roundup.
It like spins and then it goes.
Yes. In Antigonish, we called it the Space Out.
Okay.
It has like different names. Like every fair has a different name for it. But yes, that ride. I love that ride. But it is scarier because you're like, not only are you sucked kind of back from the force, but like you're seeing the people ahead of you, and then you're also seeing how high you are, and it's insane. I love it. I love that ride.
That ride is terrifying because you can kind of see everyone in the circle.
Yeah.
And you're going sideways.
Yeah.
And you're spinning, so you can like see the person directly across from you, and they're above you, and then
yes,
you get
you
get on top,
you.
and now they're below you, and then you're just terrified that it's like vomit roulette.
Yes!
Like you're scared someone's gonna puke
fuck.
and it's gonna land on you.
Right before we did that ride at the fair recently, someone got off it and threw up in the trash can right beside us. And we were just like, oh, this is not a good omen. This is not going to be good. I oddly have not puked on any fair rides as of yet. Do you have any other deep cut assumptions about me?
I came up with this one. It's kind of a roast, but it's also
I love it.
like
It's
a roast assumption. I feel like you look like the type of person to eat straight up cheese slices.
Ding, 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 ding. Not wrong.
I'm not wrong?
No. Well, not only that, Clifton, I may go to the fridge right before bed and have a handful of shredded cheese from the bag. That's a level down from cheese slices.
That's more acceptable, I think. It's less common, but more acceptable.
I think it's so depressing. I do love cheese. Even though I'm lactose intolerant, I can stomach cheese. It's a weird thing. But yes, you are very correct with that assumption. Oh my God.
Do you have any assumptions about me?
Other than that you're nice, I'm just trying to think of what other assumptions I have. Are you just like, do you have a lot of friends?
Kind of, yeah.
Do you have a lot of close friends?
I have a like really, really close group, and there's about 5 or 6 people who I'm really, really close with.
Yeah.
But then then I have a lot of like, you're a friend.
Yeah.
Matt's a friend. Kyle Carpenter. Kyle Carpenter's a friend. Albert Coombs is a friend.
Albert Coombs.
All these people are my friends. I hope they'd say the same.
Here's my question about that, though. This is the end of the episode, so I'll say it.
End of the episode.
Well, we're getting there. We're at an hour 33.
Wow, that's...
I'm going to try to wrap these by 2 hours.
Well, we had that, 20-minute bathroom break.
Was it 20 minutes, was it?
You were hobbling.
Yeah, I really had to be. I feel like with comedians, we all have that baseline of, being comedy friends.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's it goes in levels. So, there's a step up between... I would say, okay, we're all comedy friends. Most of us are all comedy friends because we do this crazy thing and we bond over that. But then there's separate groups of here's a group that talk in a group chat a lot. So they're on another level of friendship, camaraderie.
Yeah.
And then there's the other level above that, which is...
They hang out in person?
You hang out in person. You do non-comedy things together. And I don't have that with a lot of comedians. And I really want to. I don't have that first level of friends outside of the pretext of comedy.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd like to get that with people. Do you is there anyone in the comedy sphere that you hang out with I feel like yes is the answer.
Lindsey Barron. He's
okay.
Do you know Lindsey?
I think I've seen him a couple times.
Yeah. We hang out a bit.
Nice.
Outside of comedy, and like obviously it's harder for like the Halifax people. Like it's harder for me to hang out with them because
because you're not here.
I'm not here, so like anytime I am here, I'm basically here for a comedy show. So if I'm associating with them, it's probably comedy related,
or like a post show hangout,
or like a I need a place to crash.
Yeah, that's fair.
Because if I'm booking hotels, this is very, very non-profitable.
No, yeah, but you have people in the city that you can stay with, though.
Yeah,
you have a good chunk of people.
Yeah, but I have like a few friends in comedy who I hang out with.
Closer friends. Yeah.
It's
definitely something I'm trying to foster more, which is like, let's just drink together, like on a regular night, or like I don't know. It's hard. Friendships are hard at this age because it's like, what are we gonna do? I guess I could have people over to hang out, but it's weird to try to find things to do with people and then foster that.
That's
you're busy, when you're a busy person.
I mean, yeah, but even just hanging out as an adult, like people think making friends as an adult is hard. Like you wind up being friends with whoever you work with, or like if you're in some kind of like recreational sports league or something, you become friends with those people. But then once you are friends with them, there's not much to do. It's like, you want to go out to eat, or do you want to go out to drink? And that's basically it. And that's why Lindsey is so cool. Lindsey Barron, like he'll just be like, hey, do you want to go play catch?
Oh, I love that.
It's
just
so
like a simple free thing that like doesn't cost money. But like I'm a big fan of walks. Let's go for a walk. Like, or a hike. I like hiking with friends because like you can talk the whole time and you're also doing something physical. So like you're feeling good as you do it. I love stuff like that, but I do find friendships hard right now, and I don't know, maybe I just suck as a person, like that could be it too. Maybe they just don't like me, but then we go back to being a comedian and wanting to always be liked, and then you don't want to force things, but you don't want to also be passive. It's just this weird struggle.
Yeah. I get it. Yeah. And then the other thing too is like the whole wanting to be liked and not wanting to come off as pushy. Yeah. That's something that I do struggle with, where it's like I'll like message someone and I'll be like, hey, we should hang out sometime, and then they're like, yeah, they agree. But I'm also the kind of person who takes it as face value. Yeah. So I'm like, okay, they do want to hang out sometime. So I'll be like, how about Thursday? And then they'll be like, oh, Thursday doesn't work for me. And I'm like, okay, how about Friday or Saturday? And they're like, neither of those days. And I'm like, okay, maybe they don't actually want to hang out.
Well, it's up to that person to go, this day doesn't work for me, but what about this day? Like, it should be a give and take. Like, if they actually really want to hang out with you, they should put some effort into finding a day that works. Because I do feel like in any conversation between two people, I have a theory about this. Like, one person is always a bit more flexible than the other. So it's up to that flexible person to go, I'm flexible. What works for you? Yeah. And then that non-flexible person needs to then go, here's a bunch of options. What can work for you? But like scheduling, it just takes the fun out of friendship. But like, I guess this is adult friendships and what we have to deal with. We should just all share Google Calendars. Are you someone who keeps like a Google Calendar, or like how do you stay organized with all the stuff you do?
No, I just try to remember everything.
Oh God.
For like, yeah,
and it works.
I don't
Doesn't
really,
messed up yet.
Not really. I don't try to write anything down, but like, I'll have it in writing if I'm on the show or something. Like whoever's booking it will be like, yeah, this date, this time. Like I'm in Moncton tonight, so I do remember that. But then there's stuff where it's like just social stuff where it's like informal. And I had a phone interview this Tuesday, and the guy who did the interview, he booked it in like a week in advance, and he was like, yeah, can we do an interview on Tuesday at 6:00? So it was in the back of my mind, and Tuesday morning, like I stayed up, like my sleep schedule's been fucked. So I stayed up all night, and then I realized at like 8 a.m., because I was up all night, I was like, oh shit, I have that interview tonight. If I go to sleep, there's a chance that I sleep through 6:00, so I'm staying up all day.
Oh, yeah.
And I only remembered it at the last minute, and then at 6:00 came, and I was waiting for his phone call, and like, there's no phone call, so I sent him a message. I was like, are we still on? And he was like, oh yeah. So I think he kind of forgot too.
Oh yes.
But like,
there's always that game. It's tricky. It's a tricky thing. I'm a big fan of following up and like just reminding people.
Yeah.
Like, are we doing this at this time? Because I don't trust people. I feel like everyone should adopt the Google Calendar invite, because if you accept a calendar invite from me, at the very least, I know that your phone is gonna go podcast with Sarah. Like,
yeah,
and hopefully you set it up so that it tells you before the actual time. I have irrational fears of people bailing on me constantly. Like, I'm constantly that girl who's like, people aren't gonna come to my party. People aren't, with dudes, like dates and stuff. Like, even if they're 5 minutes late, I'm like, he's done. He's bailing on me. He's not showing up, because getting stood up fucking sucks. Fucking sucks. Have you ever been stood up on a date?
Kind of.
Really?
I mean, not really, but I've had people cancel at very last minute.
It's the fucking worst.
Yeah.
That. I will go to extreme lengths to follow through on my plans, unless I'm so ill that I can't physically do it.
Yeah, that's me, and that's part of the people pleaser thing in me too, where someone will be like, okay, let's do this on this at this time, and then I'll be like, okay, that's what I'm doing that day, even if I'm feeling shitty. If I'm feeling whatever, it's like I have to uphold this commitment or I'll feel shittier.
Yeah,
that I bailed on them.
That's extreme people pleasing for sure. Yeah,
and then I'll have I know people, I'll have friends who are like, if I'm like, okay, are we still doing this, and they're like, I'm just not feeling it today, and I'm like,
thank God.
Well, no, it's when I want to do stuff. I'm like, are we still doing it? And then they're like, no, I'm not feeling it today. And it's just like, that would never be me.
Right? No, I fucking agree. I'm the same way. It's one of the 4 agreements: be impeccable with your word. And I really uphold that. Be impeccable with your word. I really try not to bail. At the very least, I really just try to reschedule with people, or set another time, just because I'm like, I don't want you to think that this isn't important to me. This is important to me. Even if it's a hangout. Even if it's just a friendly hangout, which I find tough to schedule into my life lately because I'm doing so much that I'm like, even last night I was like, I could be doing so much more stuff right now, but I'm going to choose to I put it in my Google Calendar, barbecue with friends. I have to put stuff in my calendar now to make me do them. How fucking insane is that?
It's pretty insane.
Would you consider yourself a workaholic type of person?
No,
always staying busy? But you're busy a lot.
I mean, relatively. I mean, I don't consider comedy busy. You don't? I love it so much.
Really?
Yeah.
So you don't really see it as ugh, I gotta do this.
No. I truly do love performing. I truly do love comedy, and it's it's starting to get me in trouble, I guess. Not in trouble, but like you said, I'm getting more traction. I'm getting more busy. I'm getting more offers.
Eyes on you. Yeah.
I'm getting more eyes on me. So people will be like, okay, well, what do you charge? Right? Well, what's your rate?
Oh, I see what you mean.
And then it's like, I'm content with getting a drink ticket. That I don't need money for this. It's about being able to do it. And if I can do it and have my travel be paid for, if it's in Tata or something, if I can get the gas money,
if you can break even, yeah.
If I can break even, I'm completely content. But that's not sustainable.
No, and you've said this is what you want to do. You want to go full tilt with this thing, right?
I would love to. I would love to.
Assuming like you want to be a comedian.
Yeah. I didn't know it before, but I found it out. And it's what I'm truly passionate about.
Fuck. Isn't that crazy? It really sucks you in.
Yeah.
When you start doing it, it has a way of being like a drug almost. Being I just want more. I just want more, baby. More. The feeling of doing well is so addicting.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I definitely would have quit if it was all my bombs.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, I want to ask you about that post-show
instant criticism, instant self-criticism. How do you manage that with yourself? Are there things that you do after a show that helps you manage that, not getting in that pit of just like self-criticism?
I'm pretty good at viewing it all as learning opportunities. So if I'm like, oh, I flubbed a word, that's just an in the moment thing. That sucks, but like I know I'm probably not going to do that again, and if I do, it's kind of natural or whatever.
Right.
But like, yeah, I view it as like a learning opportunity. So if this joke didn't land, I have to figure out whether it's the audience or whether it was my delivery or what it was, and I'll try to update it the next time if I feel like it was part of my delivery, and seeing if that helps it or if it's just a bad joke. Or one of the things that you guys have here in Halifax, in the bigger city, is more opportunities. Like we had our weekly open mic in Cape Breton, and there are 5 or 6 weekly open mics here, right? So there are 5 times as many opportunities to test jokes.
Wildly lucky.
Yeah, I mean, all the rooms are kind of shit here, but but
end of the episode juice.
but
they're great for, you're right, throwing spaghetti at the wall.
Sorry, yeah, throwing shit at the wall to see
you
what
can
sticks.
kind of do both. You can use them as, I have a big show coming up, so I need to practice, or you can, I just love going up at Gus's and just fucking throwing out a new idea.
Yeah.
It's my favorite thing ever, because you can really tell very quickly. And I tend to give like new jokes a good 5 tries before I go, okay, what's not working here? Because you got to try them at different venues, different crowd sizes. Like I do think you have to give yourself that kind of 5 real tries at it before you then go, okay, what isn't working with this? I know it should work. What doesn't work about it? And that's why you're right. We are so lucky here in Halifax to have as many mics as we do.
Yeah.
To really pump out those jokes.
The other thing, though, I think with an open mic, especially like I said about bad rooms, like sometimes there are people in the audience sometimes there's no people in the audience.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's people in the audience who don't know that there's a comedy show going on and don't care that there's a comedy show going on. So like, I like to, I mean, I don't like to, but like, I will do new material on paid gigs on bigger shows. I'll do something that I just wrote. I try to write my stuff a bit more polished, a bit more clean.
Yeah.
Like when it comes out, so that I can test it that way instead of being like, there's something funny about this idea, and like I try to have the full thing finished, and I'll test it on a paid show or at a club. Because I know those people are there to see comedy, and that's the type of audience that I want to be performing it to.
Very true.
So like,
and size numbers.
Yeah.
More people.
Yeah, more people, and people who are there specifically to see comedy are the best audiences, I think, to test comedy on.
You're probably right.
You don't go, like, there's a reason comics don't go to music open mics, because even if your shit kills, you're not a musician.
I have a friend who's doing that tonight in Bedford. She's doing like a variety open mic, and I'm just like, good for you for like fucking taking that risk and putting yourself out there in any way you can, but like also, yeesh, this is gonna be interesting to see.
Yeah, it's either gonna work or it's not.
And she's the only comic on, so it's music, comedy, and it's gonna be interesting. I'm excited to hear how it goes for her, but like it's ballsy to do. But yeah, no, it's I think like you're just like on such a good trajectory. That's a hard word to say. Because again, I think you are like a Matt Baker type. You have that raw talent, but you also have the work ethic. Look at you being all humble. I think you got something
The only
great.
thing that's Matt Baker type about me is my hair and beard.
I think you're doing so great. We have 2 more things we got to get to really quick, because I totally forgot to do the rant at the start. Do you have a rant for the podcast? I need to rant.
Rant. I guess maybe a couple. When people don't pay attention to things, like
we were talking about this.
Yeah, we were talking about this. My mom, if you're listening, you do this a lot. you'll be like, oh, you should check out this YouTube video, and you'll put on a YouTube video, and they'll be like, okay, and then they just immediately start looking at their phone and not giving a fuck about whatever you're trying to show them.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's 3-minute YouTube video. Like, you can give me your attention for 3 minutes, and then like one thing that my mom especially does. I don't know if other people experience this. I know other people definitely experience the inattentive thing, but one of the things my mom will do is be like, I'll be like, "What? So what'd you think of the video I just showed you?" And she's like, "Yeah, it wasn't good." And I'm like, "Yeah, because you weren't watching.
You weren't paying attention."
And she's like, "No, I was paying attention. I just didn't like it." And then we get into an argument because it's like, "No, I know you weren't paying attention."
Yeah, that's frustrating. Do you find, okay, like I have undiagnosed ADHD, so like a lot of times if I'm not focusing, it's just because like there's a lot going on, or like, but when you're like, just do this simple thing and like there's no distractions and people don't do it, yeah, it's like, why do you do that? Yeah, that's really frustrating. Any other ones? Any other rants? Don't hate me for this, but it's time for an unpopular opinion.
Nickelback get a lot of undeserved hate.
So this is going to be also your unpopular opinion. Okay, so we're going to kind of mesh segments here. So describe that.
This should not be an unpopular opinion.
Okay, let's hear it. Why do they get undeserved hate?
It became trendy to hate Nickelback, I guess, back in the day. They saw so much success so quick with that one album. I think it was called All the Right Reasons was the album.
With How You Remind Me and stuff on it?
How You Remind Me was the album before that, but then then they had the album that had Photograph and like all of the songs. Like
they got more mainstream.
They got more mainstream attention. Like How You Remind Me was a bop. Everyone loved How You Remind Me. But then when they came out with that the next album, everyone was like, nah, fuck Nickelback. Fuck Nickelback. Canada put out, blah, 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 Nickelback. And that was totally undeserved. And like, I'll admit that album, it all kind of sounds the same. And that's one of the criticisms that people have is like all Nickelback songs sound the same. And they'll like, play 2 Nickelback songs over each other.
Yeah.
And then they're like
the same chords.
It's like the same chords and the same beat. And then, but that, they do all sound the same, but that song is pretty good.
Yes! Oh my god! I saw them live I think just once, the one time. They did a concert in PEI for Canada Day. And it was them with, who else were they with? They were with a bunch of other bands. I think Collective Soul was one of them, and they were so fucking good. And they put on a good fucking show. Okay? I had fun at that Nickelback concert. I totally agree with you. It's undeserved. It's a fucking mob mentality. That's what it is.
Yeah.
It's just people getting on bandwagons.
It became trendy to bully Nickelback. And like here's why I have so much respect for Nickelback. Is that they had that album. They had all that success with that one album with all the songs that sounded the same, right? They all became radio hits. They got rich. They got famous. They got rich. They got famous.
Yeah.
And they could have left. They could have quit. They could have retired. They could have said, "Fuck the hate. Fuck you guys. You guys don't respect us. So we're done. You guys gave us millions and millions of dollars, and we're done." Yeah. But they still play rock shows at clubs and stuff. Like they're passionate about music. Like you haven't heard from them in years, probably. But they're still going because they like what they do. And you got to respect that.
Ding, ding, ding,
ding, ding, ding,
ding, ding. That's a ding. And they have some bops. There's some good fucking. This was the other thing I was gonna fucking ask you. Oh my gosh, Sarah, we're doing okay. I got 8 minutes. Famous people. You seem to have a lot of pictures with celebrities.
Yeah.
What is this? What's going on with this? You have just really good connections?
Yeah, that's how you make it in the biz. No, it's mostly Comic-Cons. I go to comic conventions and they have autographs and meet and greet kind of stuff. It costs a lot of money to get those pictures of celebrities. Most of them.
So this isn't chance run-ins or anything like that.
Not most of the time. Yeah, I don't know if I've run into any of them by chance. Like so. I'll give you the origin story of this
I love it.
this segment of my personality. I love the band CKY. I don't know if you ever heard of CKY.
Yes.
Rock group from the Jackass movies. You might know them.
Yeah.
The shopping cart song. And they were incredibly good to their fans. I mean, they're pretty much broken up now, but they're still going without their lead singer. But CKY, I loved Jackass growing up.
Yes.
My profile picture currently is me with the Jackass guys. So I loved CKY, started listening to their music, and they were very active online with engaging fans, like talking to fans. I went to one of their concerts with my dad when I was 13 years old, and my dad was like, I think that like over there is where the band is. Let's go. So my dad takes me like into this building, and sure enough, the band is there. So they start talking to me, and like Matt, who was their bassist at the time, he like knew me from online, from chatting.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So like, became decently friendly with them, and I was like, that's so cool. Like being able to meet your heroes. They've been my heroes since I was 7. I mean, I'm only 13 at the time, but like they've been my heroes. I've loved this band, and they're just nice to me, and like all this stuff. So like, there's a saying like never meet your heroes, blah blah blah. But like, it's never been the case for me. I've met so many celebrities, and of course, most of the time, you're paying for a meet and greet, so they're going to be nice.
They're doing their job.
They're doing their job,
right?
But like, I don't think I've ever had the experience. Randy Orton, a wrestler, called me fat one time.
What? Oh shit!
He was making a joke because I was like, your legs are shredded. Like what do you do for leg workouts, right? Because I want to have legs like that. And I was like, I do squats, but I'm not even close. And he was like, I don't think you do squats, man. And I was like, what? Of course I do squats. And then he points at my gut, and I'm just like, oh. He's like, no, I'm just fucking with you. I'm just fucking with you.
Oh my gosh. Oh wow. That's interesting. So no one's been a dick. You haven't met anyone who you've been disappointed by?
No, not really. Everyone's been incredibly nice.
It is a strange thing to meet.
So some have been nicer than others.
Yeah.
It would be very un-Clifton of me to not shout out Sufjan Stevens, singer-songwriter. Hard to describe if you don't know him, but have you seen Call Me By Your Name?
No.
The movie that came out. He did the soundtrack for that, and he was nominated for Oscars and stuff.
Oh shit. Yeah.
He's probably the nicest person to ever exist.
Wow.
Even outside of celebrity.
Right. Just a nice human.
Just a nice human. Very, very nice person. Yeah, that's.
Have you poured your heart out to any of them? Like, what kind of fan are you? Because there's multiple kinds of fans. Like, I think that there's the shy fans. There's the like screamy fans. They're like, where do you stand in terms of like how, like, are you very laid back?
I'm pretty laid back, and like, I mean, that might be partially why I seem to have more good fan experiences with these people,
because you're not like overwhelming.
I'm not overwhelming. I'm definitely the type, like, if there were a group of people waiting to talk to this celebrity, I would let everyone else go first, and if they're like, oh, that I gotta go, I'm cool with them not talking to me.
Right.
Like
give them the respect.
Yeah,
that's nice.
Yeah. That kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's I'm definitely more laid back in that way. And I'm also, I try not to ask fan questions like, oh, when you wrote this song in this lyric, did you mean this? Or like in this episode of Star Trek, did the Gorgon?
Even though
blah,
you
blah,
probably
blah.
want to ask those questions, but
yeah,
you're like,
but,
they're not gonna have the space for that.
I'll just ask like normal people questions, like
normal people. Yeah.
Like when I met Sufjan Stevens, I talked about, because he's from Michigan, or he lived in Michigan. I was just talking about like Michigan's kind of like Canada, and growing up, I did a lot of hunting. Like, did you ever go hunting? And he was like, it was just like a weird conversation topic. So he got into it, and like.
But that's also very like, that's like showing that like you care about them as a person, not just a like performer or artist. You know?
Yeah, I guess
it's more human. It's a human question, which I think people appreciate. You know, I met the lead singer of Third Eye Blind, and he was kind of cocky, but I was just like, I had my heart annihilated and your music helps me through it. I said it really fast. And he was like, I'm very happy to hear that. I was like, oh, thank you. And then I was like, I didn't get a picture. He didn't seem to be the type to want pictures. So I was like, I would rather just like tell you what you mean to me versus like trying to get a selfie with you. You know what I mean? I feel like a lot of celebrities appreciate that more than can I get a picture. Like I would much rather have a 1 minute interaction with like Taylor Swift versus a picture with her would be pretty bitchin' though. I gotta say, I don't know. That would be a hard choice.
Just get both. Just get both.
Or take the picture or take a video. Take a video while you're talking to them. But everything shouldn't be. I feel like it's so important to like not try to not capture everything. Like to be present and like have that human to human experience, even with your heroes. You know, who you put on a fucking pedestal. You know? You also mentioned movies. So back to our end of the world scenario. End of the world, you have one more movie to watch.
Ooh.
What's the movie?
One more movie to watch at the end of the world. This is a loaded question because would it be my favorite movie or would I?
So that would
like my favorite movie of all time is The Princess Bride.
Clifton! I love that movie. Oh, that makes me so happy. Yeah, would you watch your favorite or would you watch one that's
like something new or
I don't even know. Like I think you go for favorite, right?
Yeah, I think you have to.
For favorite.
Yeah, or like something really long.
Titanic or like Avatar. Or...
Yes, Titanic. You have to swap VHSs halfway through.
What's like your top 5?
My top 5 favorite movies ever. Yeah. Okay, so Princess Bride, Hot Fuzz, The Prestige.
Ah, yes. Great movie.
2001: A Space Odyssey.
Okay.
And Zoolander.
Oh, love it. The ant. It's still one of my favorite moments in movie history. How are the children supposed to get in the building? Like, it's you want to know? Okay, so I'm going to name some. I don't know if I have a ranking, but Princess Bride's definitely up there. Clueless, definitely up there. Maybe not so much for like someone like you, but for women, it's a fucking, a real cult classic. Wayne's World.
Wayne's World.
Wayne's World is the basis of so much of my humor. Like, I feel like when I saw Wayne's World, that's when I was like, I fell in love with like comedy and like Ace Ventura. Like that whole time frame
like the
of
early
movies.
90s.
Yes.
Early 90s Canadian comic humor.
Because I don't watch a lot of movies these days. I don't remember. I mean, like here and there I'll do it, but like because I'm so busy with things, I just don't have the time to like really like sink into movies anymore. And it makes me sad because I do love movies. I think I gotta like chalk out some time and like go to the theater sometime because I think it's the only way I could do it. Because even when I watch stuff here, I'm like on my phone or like I'm getting I might try to work on things while I'm watching. I'm just like, no, there's nothing like that theater experience of like the lights are out. You got your fucking Coca-Cola, Clifton, and popcorn.
Coca-Cola, popcorn.
And you're focused.
Yeah, it's like when you go to a theater, you're there with a purpose to watch a movie.
Yes.
When you're at home, like
you're just throwing it on.
You're throwing it on. You're watching a movie, but like it can wait. It can wait. You can pause it or you can replay it or whatever. But with a theater, it's an event, so like you have to that's your one shot.
It's your one shot.
I mean, until it comes out in home release or whatever.
That's right. There is one movie that I'm dying to see, which is Promising Young Woman.
You haven't seen that yet?
Haven't seen it yet, and I'm dying to see it because it's Bo Burnham and it looks just amazing.
Yeah, I liked it. I mean, it wasn't really a comedy role for Bo.
No, but I love that. I love that they.
Some people would argue that Inside wasn't a comedy role.
They specifically casted comedic actors.
Yeah. Because
they wanted to expose the fact that like the things that these characters are doing, and I haven't seen the movie yet, so take this for what it is, but like the things that the characters are doing in that movie, it's kind of putting that lens of like any nice guy or funny guy could rape you. Like that's why they specifically that's why they chose comedic, likable actors to portray these like monsters.
Yeah.
Which I find fucking fascinating. Did you see Bo Burnham's Inside?
Yeah.
What did you think?
I loved it.
Yeah, so good.
I mean, initial watch. So here's the thing. Initial watch, I found it like really like kind of depressing, and like also made me very envious of like how little I've done. Like I wrote maybe like 3 jokes through the pandemic.
Same.
And like
Yeah.
he wrote multiple songs and
Did this whole
thing, like learned how to do the video and the lighting, and like it just made me feel really inadequate.
Yeah, I know.
But and like overall, I've heard some people say this too, like, oh, you know, it wasn't that funny or whatever. Like it wasn't as
a comedy special.
It wasn't a comedy special. It was just like kind of this experimental like YouTube vlog thing, and like that's kind of a fair criticism on first watch. But I've kind of like got obsessed with listening to the album on Spotify.
Yeah,
and just like hearing all these subtle jokes, and then like realizing just how well written some of it is.
I know, so good, so incredibly well done, just like all around a masterpiece. I've only watched it the once though. I haven't dived back into it.
I haven't. I think I've watched it through twice, but I've mostly just been listening to the soundtrack because it cuts out the sad fat.
It does kind of. The sad fat. Oh man, yeah, no, it's so good. But Clifton, we're gonna wrap it up. Is there anything that we didn't cover that you'd like to just quickly cover?
I mean, we didn't cover. I said Looney Tunes when you asked me.
Oh, I don't really know much about it.
You don't know much about the Looney Tunes?
I don't really. Here's my unpopular opinion. I don't really connect in this intense way with cartoons. The only really cartoon show that I ever really got into was Family Guy.
Okay.
But like, and that was a show that like I just would kill
and that's
me.
not really.
I would be like in tears laughing.
But it's not really a connection show, I guess. I mean,
No.
neither is Looney Tunes really.
But I'm just like I don't know. Like I can appreciate like a Disney movie. Like I kind of like to do like the Disney movie rewatches. Like that's always fun as an adult. But like I just don't have this insane connection to cartoon shows. When I grew up, it was like what shows I was into, like Mr. Dress Up, and like Fred Penner, and like
all
almost
great.
like real life shows
Yeah.
and movies. Like Homeward Bound was my jam. Like I want to see
Homeward Bound
real.
is great.
Like I was never really. It just I don't know what it was. What was there was a cartoon show that came out last year. What was it called? It was like a comedy cartoon on Netflix, animated thing. It was like a podcast that they turned into I can't remember the name, but that was pretty good. But yeah, no, I just don't have this insane connection. So what is it about Looney Tunes?
Just the comedy, like it was really pioneers of comedy. Like the cartoons are so funny. They're basically jokes. They're gag cartoons. There's no through storyline. It's not a serial. It's these movies, 5-minute movies that they would make in the 30s, 40s. Right. And it's so long ago, but they were so good at comedy that like the animation is hilarious. The gags are hilarious, and they've like. You know, people have talked about how like a lot of it isn't PC or whatever, but I think the Looney Tunes have really stood the test of time.
Yeah.
Like you can put on Looney Tunes right now for a kid of today, and they will still be entertained.
It's classic.
And you'll be entertained by it as well as an adult. And like just how influential they are to comedy is like
that's interesting.
Why I kind of love them. Like I was telling this I think to Matt like a few months ago. Just like if there were 3 comics in a room and I said, tell me your comedic influences. And someone was like, yeah, I watched a lot of Carlin, or I watched a lot of Richard Pryor. And then someone was like, I watched a lot of Looney Tunes. I'm assuming they're going to have the best set.
No way!
I swear to God.
Oh, interesting.
That would be the assumption I'd make.
Because it's stuff that people of all ages can laugh at.
Yeah.
Versus like a specific style that might only appeal to certain people.
And it's very
versatile.
structured. It's very structured.
Interesting.
And like
I gotta watch some Looney Tunes so Clifton can respect me.
And there's like that I'll start booking you on shows, and I'll be like, yeah, Sarah's watched Looney Tunes. She's good.
She's done the fucking work.
Yeah, and I think what it is because it's like I mean, you're familiar enough with the Looney Tunes, but like it's like an ensemble comedy. So like I said, I grew up, I love Jackass.
Yeah.
And that's an ensemble, that's a group.
That's such a nostalgic fucking time.
Yeah.
That whole time.
But the commonalities I find in it, let's say, when you watch Looney Tunes, if you watch a Wile E. Coyote cartoon, you know what you're getting. You know you're getting the Roadrunner, outwitting him or escaping, and all these funny gags. If you watch a Bugs Bunny, you know he's going to outsmart Elmer or whoever.
Right.
You know these characters, and you know what you're getting, and the gags are always funny. And with Jackass, I mean, it's the same. Like you're
expecting ridiculous.
You know Steve-O's the guy who's going to do something gross and throw up, and like Johnny Knoxville's going to do something incredibly painful, and like they all have these aspects. Bam Margera is going to mess with his parents or do like pranks. They all have these aspects to their personality, to their character, and that's something that no one. Not no one, but people haven't replicated. Like there were a lot of stuff. There was a lot of stuff that came after Jackass, where it was like I think Dirty Sanchez or the Dudesons even these comedy like stunt guys who were just like, yeah, we're gonna do Jackass stuff, but way more gnarly. Like we're gonna do.
It's pushing boundaries.
They're pushing the boundaries.
Pushing the boundaries with what they can do.
They were like, you thought Johnny Knoxville getting hit in the nuts was funny. Imagine when I chop off my pinky, and it's like that's not what's funny about Jackass.
Right.
You need to have a personality. Like we're drawn to these characters that they have. So if you don't have a character, I'm not going to find you funny, and like just how that influence kind of like.
Oh, that's so fascinating. That's interesting. Okay, I gotta watch some Looney Tunes and maybe some Jackass. My first boyfriend was big into Jackass and Bam and all that, and he was my intro into that world because he was a skater.
Yeah.
So like I was big into like that prank culture.
Yeah.
I was obsessed with it because like I was essentially living it with this idiot. Was a skater. He was a skater boy.
You said see you later, boy?
Yeah. Oh, Avril Lavigne. Also married to Chad Kroger, tying it back to Nickelback.
Exactly.
Call back.
Woo.
It's the only callback I can do. I don't do them otherwise. Clifton, this was amazing. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Thanks for having me. This was really fun. Time flew by.
Time flew by. 2 hours and 11 minutes.
I was joking about how I'm not a conversationalist and how this would be kind of miserable, but I had fun. You were great.
Clifton. Okay, well, I want everyone to know where exactly they can. This might not come out for a bit because I have a huge backlog of episodes.
That's what I figured. You have like 5 or 6 in the backlog now, right?
This might not come out until like mid-September, which I know is a long. Unless now, I'm going to preface this by saying there's a small chance I might like release 2 in a week sometime to like get them out sooner. But I want you to take over, let people know where they can find you, follow you, stay up to date on your shows and all of that.
You can add me on Facebook. It's just Clifton Cremo. Or on follow me on Instagram. That's where I do post most of my stuff is Instagram. I don't really use Twitter, but you can follow me on Twitter also, just at Clifton Cremo. Very, very simple, very straightforward. That's awesome. That's where I post all my stuff. No like website yet or anything, but
Follow on Instagram.
You gotta
stay up to date with Clifton and what he's doing. You are doing such amazing work. You should be so proud of yourself. You're also a treat to watch, so you gotta come out and see Clifton at a show when you can, before he gets too famous for all of us.
I was thinking about because like you said, this is going to be backlogged. I was thinking about making all of my topics very, very current to force you to release it first. To just push me to the front.
Honestly, I'm now thinking about what I have and how they're going to come out. Because I've had you on. I've had Itai Cooperman. Have you ever met Itai?
Yeah, one time.
Yeah, I met Itai and Lynn Woods. I had her on. We got like some good comic episodes, so I think the comics who listen are going to really enjoy them. But thank you so much for coming on. This was lovely. And I think before we close it, let's pick a secret hashtag that this is the hashtag for people who made it through the whole episode. They can then comment on the Instagram post, the hashtag. We need to think of a hashtag.
No one's going to do that.
But this is the fun of it. You never know.
Even the ones who did stick it through, they're just going to be like,
So if you've made it through this episode, you can comment on Instagram. The hashtag, what's our hashtag? It has to be kind of ridiculous.
Hashtag kind of ridiculous?
Hashtag
no.
Kind of ridiculous.
I don't know.
Hashtag tilt-a-hurl?
Tilt-a-hurl.
Tilt-a-hurl.
Hashtag tilt-a-hurl.
Tilt-a-hurl.
I bet there are actually posts under hashtag tilt-a-hurl.
Oh,
I can almost guarantee that it is.
Yeah, maybe. I'm going to look that up. But Clifton, thank you so much for coming on, and you get to end the episode with a bell ring. Yay, we did it! We did the thing! It's done!
Thank you for listening to the Intoxicated Podcast. If you enjoyed this week's episode, make sure you subscribe on whatever podcast app you use and leave a rating or review on Apple Podcasts. You can also give us a follow on Facebook and Instagram at Intoxicated Podcast, and check out our video episodes on the Intoxicated YouTube channel. Until next week, feel hard and talk hard. Intoxicated Podcast is hosted and produced by Sarah McClellan, co-produced by Sarah Nicole, and brought to you by the messiness of life.